Good morning, my beloved friend. The first light of day is beginning to breathe across the horizon, painting soft gold over the quiet rooftops and sleeping streets. The world has not yet awakened, but heaven is already stirring. This is the hour when the soul listens best, when your heartbeat sounds like a prayer, and the sky itself feels close enough to touch. The air carries a hush, as if creation is waiting for someone to whisper hope again. And in this stillness, you are not alone. Somewhere this morning, a man sits in his car outside a hospital, hands trembling on the steering wheel. He has just been told that the person he loves most might not make it through the day. In another house, a woman lies awake long before dawn, staring at the ceiling, wondering how she will pay the bills that keep arriving. And somewhere else, someone you would never suspect is fighting a quiet war inside a war against fear. Loneliness, or the echo of mistakes that will not let go. They all carry the same question you may carry now. Where is God when my heart is breaking? Maybe you have prayed and heard nothing. Maybe you have walked faithfully yet still feel unseen. Maybe life has worn you down so quietly that you no longer notice how tired your spirit has become. But even now, before the sun is fully risen, there is a light already reaching for you. It moves through the silence, steady and sure, whispering the same truth that has carried generations before us. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are still held. This morning is not just another day to survive. It is an invitation. The one who shaped the dawn waits to meet you in it. Before you step into noise, deadlines, and conversations, there is a sacred pause, a moment designed for encounter. The world calls it early morning, but heaven calls it holy ground. Here, your awareness can find rest. Your confusion can find clarity. Your pain can find purpose. Not because the circumstances have changed, but because presence is near. Prayer is not about perfect words. It is about honest ones. It is not a ritual to impress God. It is a relationship that welcomes Him into the mess, the beauty, and the ordinary breath of your life. It is a conversation that turns despair into direction and silence into strength. When you pray at dawn, you are not speaking into emptiness. You are answering a voice that has been calling your name all night long. So, my beloved friend, wherever you are, in a quiet kitchen with a cup of coffee, on a balcony with tears that have not dried, or sitting in the stillness between exhaustion and hope, this is your moment. Take a deep breath. Let the noise of yesterday fade. You have made it to a new sunrise, and that alone is grace. Open your heart gently. Without fear, let the morning light remind you that faith is not gone. It is only waiting to be awakened. In the next few moments, you will be guided into a journey of prayer, a conversation that will move from surrender to strength, from ashes to awakening. You will not be rushed. You will not be judged. You will simply be invited to meet God again in the quiet, to rediscover what has never been lost, His unbreakable love for you. Now, take another breath and let your soul whisper, I am here. The day is waiting, and so is He. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning I wake in the quiet gray before sunrise. The house is still, the air cool against my skin, and for a moment the world feels suspended between night and day. I come to you not with grand words, but with a tired heart that still wants to believe. I have carried so much in silence lately, thoughts that ache, fears that never seem to end. The weight of unanswered questions presses like fog around me. And yet, here I am, reaching for you again, not because I am strong, but because I do not know where else to go. I have learned that even when I have no perfect prayer, you understand the trembling inside me. So I open my hands, empty and honest, and whisper the only truth I know this morning. I need you. You see every corner of my life, even the ones I try to hide. You know the nights I lie awake, replaying what I could have done differently, what I should have said or left unsaid. You know how often I smile when my spirit is barely standing. I confess that sometimes I wonder if you are still near. I know your word says you never leave, but there are mornings when my faith feels like a thin thread pulled too tight. I do not come pretending courage today. I come confessing need. I come asking for a new breath in my soul, for the strength to face what waits beyond this dawn. There is something about these early hours that draws me to you, the stillness, the simplicity, the unfiltered truth that rises when everything else is quiet. I sense that you meet me here not to demand perfection, but to remind me that love is not earned by performance. It just is, and it still holds me, even when I forget how to hold on. Help me remember that, Lord. Help me remember that no failure, no silence, no fear can unmake what you have spoken over me. I am yours. I have always been yours. Teach me to sit in this silence without rushing to fix what only you can heal. Let this moment be a resting place, not a checklist. My breathing slow until I can feel your peace settling deep, like soft rain on dry ground. I know I cannot control the day ahead, its conversations, its challenges, its unexpected turns, but I can begin it here. With you, before the world begins to pull at me. I choose to anchor my heart in your presence before I step into the noise. Remind me that faith is not the absence of struggle. It is the courage to keep returning to you in the middle of it. Remind me that weakness is not failure. It is the doorway through which grace walks in. I do not need to have everything together. I only need to bring everything to you. When fear whispers that I am alone, teach me to answer with truth that you are closer than the air I breathe. When shame tries to speak louder than mercy, let me hear your voice rise above it, saying that I am still loved. I want to believe that every sunrise is a new beginning, not because my problems vanish, but because your compassion never runs out. Each dawn is proof that you have not given up on me. I am learning to trust that your light reaches even the corners I call hopeless. Let that light touch the parts of me that are still afraid to be seen. Let it warm what has grown cold, awaken what has gone numb, and breathe life into what I thought was over. If this day holds difficulty, help me not to face it alone. When my thoughts start to spiral, bring them back to peace. When my heart starts to race with worry, steady it with the memory of your faithfulness. Let me move through this morning with gentleness toward myself and others, knowing that kindness is never wasted. Teach me to see your fingerprints in small things, the quiet kindness of a stranger, the rhythm of my own breathing, the gift of another sunrise that did not have to come, but did. Dear Father, I place this morning in your hands. I place the things I cannot fix, the people I cannot change, the questions I cannot answer. I choose to release them into your care, because holding them has only made me wary. I am learning that surrender is not defeat, but the beginning of peace. I am learning that the smallest prayer can open the widest door when it is spoken with an honest heart. So I whisper again, quietly but sincerely, I trust you. I do not always understand, but I trust you. As light begins to fill the sky, let it also fill me. Let it remind me that darkness is never final, that every night has an end, and every heart that turns to you will find a way home. Let this morning become sacred ground, where faith is reborn and fear begins to fade. I step into the new day not with certainty, but with hope. Not with answers, but with presence yours and mine. Together in this stillness before the world awakens, I will carry this moment with me, like a candle cupped in trembling hands. Careful not to let the wind of worry blow it out. I know the day will ask much of me, but I also know that you go before me. I know that grace is not something I must chase. It is already running toward me. So I breathe again, letting this truth settle deep. The morning is here. Your love is here. And that is enough. Lord, the morning grows brighter now, and I can feel the warmth slowly reaching through the window, touching the edges of everything around me. The world begins to stir, but my heart still lingers in that sacred quiet where only you and I exist. I can hear the faint sound of life returning, the birds outside, the hum of distant movement, and yet, within me, there is another sound rising, the sound of letting go. It is soft, trembling, but real. I have held so many things too tightly for too long. Fear of what may happen, guilt over what has already happened, the endless need to prove I am enough. Each one has left marks on my soul, small fingerprints of control that keep me from breathing freely. But this morning, I no longer want to wrestle with what I was never meant to carry. God, I realize how heavy it has become to be the keeper of my own peace. I have tried to predict outcomes, fix hearts, and rewrite stories you never asked me to edit. I thought responsibility meant holding everything together, but now I see that it has only left me wary. You are not asking me to fix the storm. You are inviting me to rest in the middle of it. So here, in this calm moment, I open my hands to you. Whatever I was clinging to, whatever I was afraid to lose, I release it now. Take it, Lord, not because I give up, because I trust that you know better where it belongs. There is something holy about this surrender. It does not feel like defeat. It feels like peace beginning to settle in places where chaos once lived. It feels like my shoulders remembering they were never designed to carry the weight of the world. You remind me that surrender is not weakness. It is alignment. It is stepping aside so your will can flow freely through the cracks of my stubbornness. I can almost sense it now, the shift within me, as if my heartbeat has found a slower rhythm, one that matches the pace of grace. Father, I want to learn how to live from this posture, not just visit it. Teach me to wake up each day with open palms, not clenched fists. Teach me to surrender before I struggle, to yield before I break. Help me see that surrender is not a single act, but a rhythm, a choice that repeats with every breath I take. Each inhale reminds me that I receive what you give. Each exhale reminds me to release what I cannot control. Let this rhythm become the song my soul hums throughout the day. When anxiety tries to convince me that I must manage every outcome, remind me of the sparrows you feed and the lilies you clothe. When impatience begins to rise, remind me that time is not my enemy. It is your servant, delivering what you have already prepared. I do not want to spend another morning trying to outrun your timing. Instead, let me sit in trust, believing that your plan is still unfolding even when I cannot see the pattern. God, I bring you the fragments of my expectations. I lay down the need to be understood, the desire to be right, the constant striving for approval. They have drained me more than failure ever could. I do not want to measure my worth by results anymore. I want to measure it by rest, by how deeply I can lean into your love when everything else shakes. Let this surrender become my offering to you today, not as an act of resignation, but as an act of worship. There are places in my heart that still resist this letting go. I can feel them tightening when I think of people I cannot change or situations that seem unfair. Even there, Lord, meet me with gentleness. Show me that surrender does not mean indifference. It means trusting that your justice is better than my control, that your mercy runs deeper than my understanding. When I start to reach for what I have already placed in your hands, whisper again the truth that set me free this morning. I am not in charge of saving anything. I am only called to love, to trust, and to breathe. Sometimes the hardest surrender is not external, but internal, the need to understand why. The questions that have no clear answers still echo, but maybe they do not need to. Maybe surrender begins where explanation ends. So I choose to rest in mystery, believing that even when I cannot trace your hand, I can still trust your heart. That trust may tremble, but it is real. It is enough for now. Father, if I begin to take back what I have released, bring me back to this quiet moment. Let the memory of peace draw me home again. Remind me of this stillness, how it felt when I finally stopped striving, when I finally allowed you to hold what I could not. Let me carry this feeling into the noise ahead, like a river that keeps flowing beneath the surface, unbothered by the storms above it. As the morning light strengthens, I sense something inside me unclenching. I am beginning to understand that surrender is the soil where faith grows. It is where I stop digging graves for what went wrong and start planting seeds for what is to come. It is where I stop demanding proof and start trusting promise. This is where I want to live, God in the space between control and freedom, where your will becomes enough for me. So here I remain for a little while longer, breathing slowly, letting your peace take root deeper than fear ever did. The day ahead may still hold uncertainty, but my heart feels lighter. I know now that I am not powerless. I am held. I am not defeated. I am free. This surrender is not the end of something. It is the beginning of everything that can finally bloom. When I stop gripping too hard, the sun continues to rise, and I can feel its warmth like a quiet confirmation. I have let go, Lord. And somehow, in letting go, I am held more firmly than ever. Father, as the warmth of the new day deepens, I feel the air shift around me, gentle yet alive, carrying the promise of renewal. The light outside has grown stronger since I first began to pray, and something in that slow brightening mirrors the quiet awakening within me. The act of letting go has left space, and in that space, your love begins to move again. It is not loud or sudden. It does not rush in to fix what hurts. It simply surrounds, patient and unwavering, as if it has been waiting for this very moment to remind me of what has always been true. Lord, I have known love that fades when I fail, love that retreats when I am not enough, love that measures worth by what I can offer, but yours is not that kind. Yours does not flinch when I stumble or turn away when I forget. Your love has never once depended on my perfection. It was there long before my first prayer, long before I understood how to call your name. It was there when I doubted, when I hid, when I tried to carry life on my own. And it is here now, just as steady, just as strong. You have never withdrawn what you freely gave. Sometimes I forget this. I move through my days as if love is fragile, as if one wrong move could make it disappear. I spend hours replaying what I should have done better, unaware that even in my self-criticism, you are whispering. I never stopped loving you. I realize now that faith is not just believing you exist. It is remembering that your heart toward me never changes. Even when my circumstances shift, even when people drift, your affection remains unshaken. It is not a light that flickers with the wind, but a flame that burns beneath every shadow. God, help me remember how deeply you love, not as an idea I nod to, but as a truth I live from. Let it sink beyond my mind into my bones until it becomes the quiet confidence that steadies me. When doubt begins to creep in, remind me that your love was proven not by words but by sacrifice. When I am tempted to earn what is already mine, remind me that grace cannot be negotiated. It can only be received. You gave it because you wanted to, because that is who you are. I think of the times you carried me, when I did not even realize it. The closed doors felt like rejection, but were protection. The delays that felt cruel, but became the exact timing I needed. I see now how your love has been guiding even the detours. The very moments that broke me open were the same ones that let your light reach deeper. Every tear I thought was wasted watered something unseen. You never left me wandering. You were leading me through unfamiliar places to teach me how to see. Father, I confess that there are still parts of me that struggle to believe I am worthy of such love. The voices of the past still echo sometimes, telling me that love must be earned or fought for. But when I look back, I see that you were never the one demanding perfection. It was the world that misunderstood grace. You only ever asked me to come as I am, not as I pretend to be. So today, I stop striving to deserve you. I choose instead to remember that I already belong. Let that truth sink into every thought that rises today. When I face moments that challenge me, remind me that love is my foundation. When I encounter people who misunderstand or judge, help me respond from the safety of knowing I am accepted by you. When the day grows heavy, let me lean on the assurance that I am never facing it alone. You are beside me, not as a distant ruler, but as a faithful friend who refuses to leave. Sometimes I wish I could feel your presence more tangibly, like warmth I could touch. But then I realize it is already everywhere in the patience that softens my anger, in the small peace that appears when I stop overthinking, in the beauty of simple things I once overlooked. Your love does not always arrive as emotion. Sometimes it comes as steadiness. It is the quiet voice that says, "Keep going, I am here," when everything else feels uncertain. God, let your love rewrite the way I see myself, where shame has written failure. Write forgiveness where fear has written limits. Write freedom where weariness has written surrender. Write renewal. I do not want to carry old definitions of who I was when you have already named me anew. Teach me to see through your eyes, to notice strength where I see weakness, purpose where I see loss, redemption where I see ruin. Your love does not erase the past. It redeems it, transforming even my broken pieces into something that can reflect you. And when I am tempted to measure your care by how easy life feels, remind me again that true love is not the absence of pain, but the presence of meaning. You do not promise comfort without cost, but you promise companionship through it all. That is what sustains me. That is what keeps me standing when everything else falls away. Your love is the one constant that has never failed me, even when I failed myself. As sunlight stretches fully into the room, I can feel the morning completing its gentle promise. The shadows that once seemed endless now look smaller, softer. I realize that this is what your love does. It changes how I see everything else. It does not remove the night. It teaches me to look for the dawn. It reminds me that no valley lasts forever, and no darkness can hold back the light you have placed within me. So I begin this day remembering, not because memory is sentimental, but because it is survival. Remembering your love is how I breathe again, how I find my footing when the world feels uncertain. I carry this truth into every hour ahead, that I am loved, not because of what I have done, but because of who you are, and that love, steady and unbreakable, will hold me through whatever this day may bring, like sunlight that never truly leaves, only waits for me to turn toward it once more. Lord, the light outside has fully awakened now, stretching across rooftops and windows, and I can almost hear the world taking its first deep breath. Everything feels alive, yet still gentle, as if creation itself has paused in quiet reverence. My own heart, still tender from remembering your love, longs to stay in this stillness a little longer. I do not want to rush past this sacred calm. I want to learn what it means to listen, to really listen, not with ears that wait for noise, but with a heart that waits for you. Father, I realize how often I come to you speaking, asking, explaining, hoping you will answer quickly. I pour out words as if silence means you are absent. But maybe silence is where you speak loudest. Maybe the stillness I often resist is the very language of heaven. Help me, Lord, to quiet the noise within me, the hum of plans, the echo of worries, the rehearsed sentences I prepare for problems that have not even come. Let this morning become my training ground for stillness, where I learn to hear more by saying less. God, I can sense that you are here, even when I cannot define what you are saying. The air itself seems filled with presence. My pulse slows, my breathing steadies, and I begin to understand that listening to you is not about straining for a voice, but about surrendering to awareness. It is realizing that you are already speaking through peace that settles unexpectedly, through a thought that feels lighter than my own, through the quiet conviction that stirs when I pause long enough to notice. Listening to you is less about sound and more about alignment. Sometimes I fear that I might miss your guidance, that I am too distracted or too human to recognize your whisper. But perhaps you are far more skilled at speaking than I am at hearing. Perhaps you know how to reach me, even through the clutter. Teach me to trust that your voice is not fragile. Teach me that I do not have to earn revelation. I only have to remain open. Let me not confuse your stillness with distance. Help me believe that your silence can be intimacy in disguise. Lord, I want to carry this posture of listening into everything I do today. When someone speaks to me, let me hear them beyond their words. When decisions wait to be made, let me sense the quiet nudge beneath the surface noise. When emotions rise, let me pause long enough to ask, what are you teaching me here? Let listening become the rhythm of my day, guiding how I respond, how I move, how I live. I know wisdom does not shout. It waits. So let me be still enough to notice when wisdom comes near. Father, the more I sit here, the more I see how my heart often speaks louder than my mouth. There are unspoken fears, half-formed hopes, quiet H's that I cannot even name. Yet you hear them all. You interpret the language of sighs and tears. You understand what my spirit is trying to say when words fail. And in that realization, I find relief. I do not need to perform prayer. I only need to be present in it. You are not waiting for eloquence. You are waiting for honesty. God, help me listen not just for comfort, but also for correction. I know your voice can soothe, but it can also shape. When pride tries to speak louder than humility, silence me with truth. When I justify what you are gently asking me to release. break through my stubborn reasoning with quiet conviction. Your discipline is not harsh. It is holy love guiding me back to center. Let me receive it without defense. And knowing that every word you speak is meant to heal, never to harm. There is something healing about this stillness. It feels like a deep exhale after holding my breath for too long. The world outside continues its rhythm, cars passing. Doors opening, voices beginning, but within me, there is calm. I think this is what it means to abide, not to escape life, but to stay rooted in you while life moves around me. Listening becomes my anchor. It reminds me that I am not defined by noise or by hurry. I am defined by connection, the steady pulse of being known and loved by you. Lord, if I could ask for one gift today, it would be discernment, the ability to know when it is you speaking and when it is simply the echo of my own desires. Teach me the difference between impulse and inspiration, between fear and foresight. Let your voice be the one that brings peace. Not pressure. Clarity. Not confusion. And if I do not hear anything at all, let me still trust that silence is a seed, waiting to bloom in its time. You do not withhold words to punish. You wait until I am ready to receive them. Father, I want to live in such a way that my listening becomes love in action. Let it change how I see people, how I carry myself, how I speak into the world. When I pause to listen, I create space for compassion to grow. When I slow down, I begin to notice beauty again, the laughter that echoes down the hall, the warmth of sunlight through a window, the simple miracle of being alive. In all of it, I hear your heartbeat hidden in the ordinary. As the morning continues, I feel the invitation to carry this awareness into the day ahead. I may not sit in this quiet place forever, but I can carry its peace within me. I can walk through the noise of schedules and conversations with an inner stillness that cannot be shaken. Every time I remember to breathe, every time I choose to pause before reacting, I will find you waiting there, speaking in ways the world cannot drown out. Lord, make my heart like the surface of calm water, open enough to reflect your light, deep enough to hold your words, and still enough to know when you are near. Let every thought, every step, every encounter today become part of an unspoken dialogue between us. And when the noise of the world tries to steal this peace, let me return to this stillness quickly, remembering that you never left, that your presence is the quiet truth beneath everything. The morning feels different now, not because anything outside has changed, but because I have. The act of listening has made the day sacred before it even began. I no longer rush to fill silence with words. I rest in the knowing that you are already here. Your love speaks through peace, and peace is speaking now. And in this listening, I find what I did not realize. I was searching for the quiet certainty that I am held, guided, and known, even when no words are spoken at all. Father, the stillness I carried from the quiet moments of listening begins to stretch into awareness. And with that awareness comes honesty. The peace you give is real, yet it does not erase the truth that I am still in a battle. It is not a battle others always see. It is fought beneath the surface of calm smiles and careful words, within thoughts that rise and fall like tides. I can feel it even now, the tug between faith and fear, trust and control, truth and the lies that disguise themselves as logic. Lord, help me name what I face, not to magnify the struggle, but to bring it into your light where it loses its power to hide. There are days when I cannot tell if what I fight is external or internal. The world around me demands so much, but sometimes it is my own mind, is the loudest battlefield. Doubt comes dressed as reason, whispering that maybe I am not enough, that maybe what I hope for is too much. Anxiety walks close behind, weaving stories of what could go wrong until I forget that you have already written what will go right. These thoughts are not random. They are strategies meant to drain my courage, but even so, they cannot stand where your presence dwells. When I begin to see them for what they are, not truth, but noise, I remember that victory starts with recognition. God, I bring to you the battles I have not dared to admit, the quiet exhaustion that comes from pretending to be fine, the fear of being misunderstood, the anger that lingers even after forgiveness, the disappointment that still stings when prayers seem unanswered. These are not small things. They have shaped how I move through the world, yet you invite me not to hide them, but to name them before you, because whatever is named before you begins to lose its grip. You do not shame me for the struggle. You steady me within it. Lord, I know that not every battle looks like a storm. Some are fought in whispers, in the decision to stay kind when I could be bitter, in the choice to hope when everything feels heavy, in the discipline of showing up when I would rather retreat. These are quiet wars, but you see them all. You remind me that strength is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like endurance. Sometimes it looks like breathing through tears. And sometimes it simply looks like refusing to give up. You never ask me to fight perfectly. You asked me to stand, to keep standing even when my legs tremble. Father, give me clarity to know which battles are mine to fight, and which belong entirely to you. I have spent too much energy swinging at shadows, trying to fix what only faith can heal. I do not want to waste my strength on battles that distract from purpose. Teach me to discern when to speak and when to stay silent, when to push forward and when to surrender. Let wisdom, not pride, decide my movements, because the truth is, you win more wars through peace than I ever could through force. The enemy does not always come as chaos. Sometimes he comes as comfort, convincing me that spiritual numbness is safer than faith. Sometimes the greatest danger is not losing hope, but settling for less than what you promised. I see that now. Every time I settle for fear, I surrender ground that was meant for faith. Every time I cling to control, I delay the peace that could have been mine. I do not want to live half-free, half-trusting. I want to step fully into the life you have designed, where battles are not hidden, but holy places where courage and dependence are born together. God, I feel you reminding me that no war is wasted when it brings me closer to you. The struggles I tried to avoid are the very ones that have taught me resilience. The waiting that once felt endless has stretched my faith into strength. Even the pain that seemed pointless has softened my heart, teaching me to love more deeply. The enemy may intend harm, but you turn every wound into wisdom. You are not only my defender, you are my teacher in the midst of every fight. There are days, Lord, when I grow weary, when it feels like every step forward is met with resistance. On those days, remind me that even in fatigue, I am not forsaken. You do not measure my faith by my energy, but by my willingness to keep coming back to you. When I cannot run, you walk beside me. When I cannot speak, you interpret the silence as prayer. When I cannot see victory, you remind me that battles are not won by sight, but by trust. I do not fight alone. I never have. Father, when fear begins to rise like a tide, let truth rise higher. Let me remember that light is never intimidated by darkness. It simply shines. Remind me that every attack against my peace is temporary. Your promises are eternal. When I feel overwhelmed, whisper the truth that steadies me. No weapon formed against me will succeed when I remain in your presence. Let those words echo louder than any threat or doubt. Today, I choose to face what comes with eyes wide open and a heart anchored in you. I will not pretend that the battle does not exist, but I will no longer live as if I am powerless within it. The same strength that raised life from death dwells in me. The same peace that calmed the storm surrounds me. The same love that held me yesterday still holds me now. And with every breath I take, I remember that I fight not for victory, but from it. You have already secured what I am still learning to walk in. Lord, help me to carry this awareness into every moment of the day. When tension rises, let my first response be prayer, not panic. When temptation whispers, let your word be louder in my heart. When I face opposition, remind me that my value is not decided by outcomes, but by identity. I belong to you, and nothing that stands against me can undo that truth. The morning sunlight touches the floor now, warm and alive, and I sense your quiet reassurance in its glow. The battle may not be finished, but the fear has lost its dominance. Peace is not the absence of war. It is the confidence of your presence within it. I breathe deeply, no longer resisting the day ahead, knowing that I step forward not as one who must prove strength, but as one already held by strength itself. The fight continues, but so does grace, and grace never loses. Lord, as the morning unfolds, I can feel the residue of battle still lingering in my chest. The awareness of struggle has sharpened my senses, yet I do not want to begin this day dressed in anxiety. I want to be clothed in peace, not the fragile kind that disappears when life presses in, but the deep and steady peace that comes from you alone. The fight of faith is real, but so is the armor you offer, and it is not made of iron or stone. It is made of gentleness, trust, and divine stillness. Father, help me wear that armor now before the demands of the day have a chance to touch me. God, I see how easily my heart runs toward defense, how quickly I reach for my own strength when uncertainty knocks. But you remind me that peace is not weakness. It is protection. It is the quiet shield that guards me better than any reaction ever could. So before I step further into this day, I choose to dress my spirit in what is eternal. I lay aside pride, impatience, and fear, and I ask you to clothe me in calm conviction, the kind that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Let peace cover my mind first, Lord. I know how loud the world can be before the sun is even high. Voices of expectation, headlines of worry, unspoken comparisons, they gather like clouds, trying to block the light. But you have given me the helmet of peace to guard my thoughts. Let it be strong enough to silence every lie that tells me I am behind, unworthy, or forgotten. Let it remind me that I am not defined by the noise around me, but by the quiet truth within me, that I am yours, that I am safe, that I am not alone. Father, place your peace over my heart as a shield. I have known what it feels like to carry the weight of other people's words, to absorb hurt that was never mine to keep. But this morning, I release those burdens into your care. Teach me not to carry offense as armor, but compassion as strength. Let forgiveness be the fabric that protects me, for nothing breaks the enemy's plans faster than a heart that chooses mercy over memory. I do not want to walk through this day reacting to wounds. I want to walk healed, whole, and unafraid. Lord, wrap my words in peace before they leave my mouth. Let them be slow, thoughtful, and rooted in kindness. I know how easily a single phrase can wound, how quickly a careless tone can build walls that take years to tear down. Guard my speech, not to restrain expression, but to refine it. Let every word I speak carry the scent of calm waters, the strength of gentleness, the clarity of truth said in love. May my voice today build, not break. God, guide my steps with peace as well. The pace of life can tempt me to hurry beyond what is holy, to run so fast that I outrun grace. But you have called me to walk, not sprint, to move with rhythm, not panic. So steady my stride today. Let every decision, every task, every crossing of paths be directed by patience. When I am tempted to rush, slow me down with the reminder that nothing eternal is ever hurried. Let my movement through the world be quiet yet powerful, a reflection of trust in the one who orders my way. Sometimes, Father, I forget that peace is not passive, it is active, like armor that absorbs the blows meant to steal my joy. It is not avoidance. It is endurance shaped by love. I ask for the strength to carry this peace into spaces that are not peaceful when tension rises. Let me become a calm presence when others argue. Let me become a quiet listener when worry spreads. Let me become a witness of steady faith. The world does not need more noise. It needs hearts at rest in you. Let me be one of them. There are moments, Lord, when peace feels fragile, when one unexpected word, one disappointing message, can cause it to tremble. But you remind me that true peace is not dependent on stability outside of me. It grows from your presence within me. It is not something I chase, but someone I carry. Wherever I go, you go, and wherever you are, there is peace. Teach me to return to that truth whenever I forget. Even a single deep breath taken in your name can rebuild the calm I thought was lost. Father, help me protect this peace like sacred fire. The day ahead will bring distractions, and I know how easily I drift into worry when anxiety starts to creep in. Let gratitude push it out when irritation tries to rise. Let humility answer first when fear whispers worst-case scenarios. Let your promises speak louder. My peace will not be stolen if I keep it anchored in you. Remind me that I have authority to choose stillness even when the world chooses chaos. God, I ask you to surround me with peaceful boundaries, spaces where I can rest without guilt, pause without fear of falling behind. Let the rhythm of grace define my hours. Let joy have room to breathe. And if I encounter turmoil that is not mine to fix, give me the wisdom to step back and pray instead of trying to control. You fight for me far better than I can fight for myself. My task is to stay covered in peace while you work beyond what I can see. The light outside has grown brighter now, spilling warmth across the floor. I feel its quiet echo inside my chest, as if my soul is learning to shine at the same pace. There is no tension in this moment, only trust. I do not know what this day holds, but I know who holds me, and that knowledge, steady and simple, becomes my armor. I rise clothed in peace, not the peace of avoidance, but the peace of awareness that nothing today can separate me from your calm. The storms may come, but the wind will find no opening here. My heart is guarded, my steps are sure, and my mind is wrapped in light. This is how I walk forward unhurried, unharmed, unafraid, covered completely in the quiet strength of your peace. Father, the peace that has settled over me now feels like soft light guiding each breath, and in that calm, I sense a quiet hunger and ache for direction that only your truth can fill. I have learned that peace without guidance can still become lost. That calm without clarity can drift. I do not want to walk through this day merely untroubled. I want to walk aligned. I want to move in rhythm with your will, not just my good intentions. So, Lord, let your word rise in me like a compass, pointing me back to what is true when my emotions shift with every gust of circumstance. God, I know that every path looks convincing until I pause long enough to ask if it is yours. The world offers so many voices that sound right promises of success. Comfort, control, but only your word cuts through the noise like a clear bell. It does not flatter. It frees. It does not confuse. It corrects, and in that correction, I find safety. I ask that you plant your truth deep within my thoughts today, not as a set of rules, but as direction that steadies my heart. Let it become instinct the way my spirit orients itself when I am unsure of where to go. Lord, I have walked through seasons where I followed feelings instead of faith, where I let my own impatience guide my steps. Those paths often led me in circles, chasing what looked promising but left me empty. I can see now that without your voice, even good intentions can lead to exhaustion. I do not want to repeat those loops of striving. This morning, I pause before the day begins, asking that you recalibrate my heart toward what is eternal. Let your word become the true north of my decisions, so that no matter how loud the world becomes, I can return to the still point of your wisdom. Father, when I open Scripture, I do not just want to read it. I want to be reshaped by it. Let it confront the subtle lies that linger beneath polite excuses. Let it remind me that obedience is not a burden, but a language of love. Every line, every phrase, every whisper from heaven carries a direction that keeps me from drifting into distraction. Even when your word corrects me, it does not condemn me. It brings me back home. It pulls me away from self and back into grace. That is the kind of compass I want, one not only shows the way forward, but brings me back when I wander. God, teach me to carry your truth beyond the pages, into conversations, decisions, and moments that test my patience. When I face choices that seem gray, let the memory of your word draw a quiet boundary. When I am tempted to speak without love, let a verse rise like a gentle reminder before the words leave my lips. When fear begins to narrate false stories, let the truth interrupt, steadying me with your perspective. I want to live with Scripture not just in my memory, but in my reactions, my silence, and my speech. There are times, Lord, when your guidance feels distant, not because you stopped speaking, but because I stopped listening. I fill my days with noise, leaving no room for reflection. I rush through verses as if they were checklists, forgetting that each line was written to breathe life, not pressure. I do not want to treat your word as a task. I want to treat it as companionship. Let it walk beside me, whispering wisdom when I lose my way. Make me more sensitive to its presence the way a traveler feels direction, not by maps, but by the shape of the wind, the pull of light. Father, I ask for discernment today, the kind that only comes from knowing your heart. When something feels urgent but not peaceful, remind me that urgency is rarely from you. When the easy road appears tempting, remind me that truth often chooses the narrow one. When uncertainty clouds my judgment, remind me that patience is also direction. You never rush revelation. You unfold it, and in that unfolding, my trust grows deeper. Help me to lean into that process instead of fighting it. God, let the word I have read in quiet moments become alive When life is loud, let it surface in unexpected ways through a conversation that reminds me of your promises, through a decision that requires courage, through a challenge that calls for grace. I do not want your truth to live only in my mornings. I want it to echo in my evenings. Let it guide me not just when I pray, but when I work, when I listen, when I wait. Make it my steady rhythm, the pulse beneath every action. Lord, I think of how a compass works best, not when the traveler moves quickly, but when they pause to align it. That is what I want this morning to be. An alignment. A pause to remember that direction matters more than pace. I would rather take one small step in your will than run 1,000 miles in distraction. Keep me from confusing activity with purpose. Let my soul be grounded enough to know that your timing and your path are inseparable. If I must wait, let me wait with faith. If I must act, let me act with peace. Father, help me to live this day as a person guided by grace. Let integrity lead my choices, humility steady my tone, and kindness shape my interactions. Your word is not simply instruction. It is revelation. It shows me who you are and who I am becoming in you. So I will move through today aware that every encounter, every challenge, every quiet thought is a chance to walk closer to your truth. As sunlight filters through the window, touching everything with gold, I sense that this is how your word works too. It illuminates gently, revealing what needs to be seen without forcing its way in. It does not blind. It clarifies. It turns confusion into focus, heaviness into direction. I carry that light now not as information, but as transformation. Wherever this day takes me, let me keep my inner compass steady, tuned to the frequency of your truth. And when night falls again, may I look back knowing that I did not wander aimlessly, but walked in step with the quiet wisdom that began with you at dawn. Lord, the word that guided me like a compass still echoes in my heart as the morning stretches wider. The peace that guarded me now feels ready to become motion, and I know the next step is courage. You have shown me how to be still, how to listen, how to align, but now you are asking me to rise. I can sense it, like the quiet pull of light urging the seed break through the soil. And yet, even as I prepare to move, fear whispers its familiar doubts. It tells me I am not ready, that I might fail, that what lies ahead is too uncertain. But you, Father, have never spoken in the language of fear. You call me not to comfort, but to courage, and courage is simply faith standing tall. God, I bring before you all the hidden corners where fear still lives. The fear of being misunderstood, of stepping out and finding no ground beneath me, of giving my all and still falling short. They linger quietly, shaping choices, shrinking dreams, dimming joy. But you remind me that fear has no rightful claim to what you have already redeemed. You have not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Let those words take root in me today, not as a distant truth, but as living strength. When trembling begins to rise, let love be louder. When hesitation clouds my purpose, let peace stand taller. Father, I realize that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to obey it. Courage is walking even when the path shakes. Courage is trusting that you go before me, that every step forward in faith builds something unseen. I do not have to see the whole road to take the first step. I only need to trust the one who lights it. So I ask you to walk beside me as I face what this day holds, the decisions that stretch me, the conversations that require honesty, the moments where silence feels safer than truth. Give me grace to act with conviction even when it costs comfort. Lord, fear often hides behind control. It tells me that if I can manage every detail, I can avoid disappointment, but control is a small kingdom that never brings peace. You are teaching me that surrender and courage are twins, that when I release what I cannot hold, I gain the freedom to move without fear. Help me to trust that courage does not mean recklessness. It means obedience that listens to your timing. Let every bold act today be grounded in love, not pride, and in purpose, not impulse. God, I want to face the unknown the way you face the cross, with eyes open, heart steady, and love unbroken. I want to live as if faith is not a fragile thing, but a force that shapes the unseen. When the day challenges me to stand up for truth, remind me that silence is not always safety. When the world tempts me to blend in, remind me that light cannot hide and still be light. When fear whispers that I am alone, remind me that courage grows strongest in the company of your presence. You walk where I walk, and that makes even trembling steps holy. Father, help me recognize the small opportunities to be brave. It does not always look like grand acts. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness when bitterness feels justified, kindness when cynicism feels easier, persistence when giving up looks rational. Let me not overlook the quiet bravery of choosing joy in the midst of uncertainty. Teach me that courage begins not in my chest, but in my spirit, in the deep knowing that no matter how the story unfolds, I am never outside the reach of your plan. There are days when fear disguises itself as logic, when caution feels wise, but is really avoidance. Lord, expose the difference. Give me wisdom to know when fear is protecting and when it is preventing. Help me walk that sacred balance where boldness and discernment meet. You did not design me to live half awake, half believing. You created me to live fully, courageously, and freely under the banner of your love. Let my faith not just survive fear, but transform it. Let every tremor become testimony, every hesitation become holy ground where trust deepens. God, when my courage falters, remind me of all the times you carried me through what once terrified me. I have already survived what I thought would break me. I have already seen impossible things become possible in your hands. Let memory become a weapon against fear. Let gratitude strengthen the weak places within me until confidence returns, not confidence in myself, but in your unchanging faithfulness. The same God who held me yesterday will hold me today. That truth is enough to quiet every trembling thought. Lord, fill my words and my posture with quiet confidence. Let peace steady my tone even in conflict. Let kindness be the courage that disarms anger. Let hope be the bravery that stands firm when despair tries to speak louder. I do not want to fight fear with more noise. I want to overcome it with presence, with the assurance that I am rooted in you. You are the calm within my storm, the voice that cuts through chaos, the hand that steadies the trembling. I will not bow to fear when I am already bowed before love. Father, as the morning grows stronger and the light fills every corner, I feel a resolve beginning to rise, a quiet boldness born not from confidence in outcomes, but from trust in your character. I do not know what today will require, but I know who will sustain me through it. So I choose courage not as a feeling, but as a declaration. I will walk through this day believing that fear cannot lead where faith has already claimed victory. I will lift my eyes when doubt tries to pull them down. I will speak truth even when silence feels safer. And I will step forward knowing that every act of courage, no matter how small, becomes an offering of worship when it is done in love. The light outside has become golden now, rich and alive, touching everything it reaches. And in its warmth, I see reflection of your promise that fear may visit, but it cannot stay. Courage is rising, quiet and unshakable, carrying me into the day with the strength that only comes from knowing you walk before me, within me, and beyond me. Father, courage has begun to stir within me, yet even courage finds its test in the long pauses of life. The light that filled the morning has softened now, and with it comes the quiet reminder that faith is not proven in movement alone, but in stillness too. Waiting is its own battlefield, one that rarely looks dramatic, but feels just as fierce. I feel its weight, the H of wanting to move when you have said to stay, the tension of holding hope when time stretches too long. Yet even here, you are near. You are not silent because you are absent. You are silent because you are shaping. Lord, teach me to wait with open hands instead of clenched fists. I have often tried to rush through seasons, to demand answers before their time, to push doors that were meant to open gently. But every time I have hurried ahead, I have lost something precious, the lesson that waiting is not wasted. It is the classroom of trust, the quiet forge where patience becomes strength. I do not want to fill this silence with noise or distraction. I want to learn how to rest inside it, knowing that what you are preparing in secret will be worth every second of surrender. God, I confess that waiting can feel like uncertainty, but maybe it is actually your mercy. Maybe you delay not to deny me, but deliver me from lesser things. You see the dangers I do not, the timing I cannot comprehend, while I measure life by moments. You measure it by meaning. So even when I cannot see progress, remind me that something sacred is still unfolding beneath the surface. Just because I cannot trace your hand does not mean you have stopped working. The soil looks silent before the seed breaks open, but life is already beginning within. Father, let me not confuse stillness with stagnation. Waiting with you is not a pause in purpose. It is part of it. Help me to find purpose in patience, to see the beauty of slow growth, the quiet miracles that happen when I stop striving. While I wait, teach me to serve where I stand, to love who is near, to pray without ceasing instead of worrying without end. I do not want to waste this waiting by looking only toward what is next. I want to live fully even in the in-between, trusting that every delay has a divine design. Lord, I remember how you often worked through waiting in every story you wrote. Abraham waiting for a promise, Joseph waiting in a prison, David waiting for a throne, Mary waiting for the Savior to grow inside her. None of them wasted their waiting. They were being prepared for what their hearts could not yet carry. Let me see my waiting that way, as preparation, not punishment. You are not withholding. You are refining. You are shaping me into someone who can receive what I prayed for without being undone by it. God, when impatience begins to rise like a storm, calm me with remembrance. Remind me of all the times you came through at the perfect moment. Never early, never late. Remind me of the prayers that once felt forgotten, but returned as blessings I could barely hold. Your timing has always been a mystery, yet it has always been perfect. Teach me to let go of the timeline I have written in my head and trust the one you have written across eternity. Your delays are not denials. They are divine choreography. Sometimes, Father, I confuse waiting with being unseen. When answers linger and doors stay closed, I begin to wonder if you have moved on without me. But you whisper in the quiet, I have not forgotten. I see you even here. And those words, so simple and steady, are enough to keep me anchored. You do not overlook any heart that seeks you sincerely. Even when it feels like nothing is changing, something inside me is, you are growing roots where I thought nothing could survive. You are strengthening faith in the unseen. Lord, I ask that you make my waiting fertile, not barren. Let hope grow instead of wither. Let prayer deepen instead of fade. Let gratitude find me, even when the outcome is unclear. Waiting is hard because it exposes what I truly believe. So use it to refine my faith until I trust you more than I trust results. If I must wait, let me wait well with joy that does not depend on clarity, with peace that does not depend on answers, with faith that does not depend on proof. God, I know that one day I will look back on this season and understand why the pace had to slow, why the silence had to stretch. I will see that what felt like delay was actually divine pacing, that the rhythm of your will was never behind, but beautifully aligned. Help me live today as if I already believe that. When my mind races ahead, pull me gently back to this moment, to this breath, to this place where you are still enough. Because if you are here, then waiting is not emptiness, it is presence. Father, I lift before you every unanswered question, every unfinished prayer, every hope that still lingers in my chest. I place them in your hands, knowing they are safer there than in mine. I release my need to control the outcome and instead choose to trust the process. I will not measure your faithfulness by how quickly I see results, but by how deeply I sense your companionship in the waiting. Even now, I can feel the peace that comes when surrender replaces striving. The day outside continues to unfold slowly, as if creation itself understands the hollowness of timing. The light moves across the floor in patient rhythm, unhurried, unhindered. I want my soul to move like that, steady, trusting, surrendered. I do not need to know how or when. I only need to remember who holds the clock. You are not late, and I am not lost. You are teaching me to wait not with fear, but with expectation. Like watching a sunrise I know will come, and when it does, I will be ready not because I forced it, because you formed me in the waiting. Father, as I step further into this unfolding day, the weight of waiting begins to soften, and something new stirs within me, a quiet awareness of your presence in the smallest things. The light that once felt still now dances gently across the walls, and I realize that even this movement carries meaning. You are here, not only in the grand breakthroughs, but in the subtle rhythm of the ordinary. I used to think holiness was found only in the extraordinary moments, in miracles, revelations, and divine encounters. But lately, I have begun to see that grace lives quietly in the everyday. It hides in laughter, in work, in stillness, and in breath. It surrounds what I often overlook. Lord, open my eyes to see you in the spaces I once called mundane. Help me recognize the sacred in simplicity. The way morning sunlight filters through leaves, the warmth of coffee in my hands, the sound of footsteps down a hallway, all these small moments whisper that life itself is a gift. Sometimes I chase after the dramatic, hoping to feel closer to you. But you are reminding me that the ordinary is not empty, is saturated with your fingerprints. Every heartbeat is proof of grace still working. God, teach me to slow down enough to notice. The world rushes forward, obsessed with achievement. But you move differently. You build slowly, patiently, with care. I do not want to live a life that is hurried but hollow. I want to live attentive, present, alive to the miracle of now, Remind me that there is wholeness in doing small things with love. Whether I am washing dishes, answering messages, or walking through quiet streets, let me carry a heart of gratitude that turns each moment into worship. Father, sometimes I mistake repetition for stagnation, thinking that if life looks the same, it must mean I am not growing. But you are showing me that growth often hides in repetition, like the steady beating of a heart or the daily rising of the sun. Consistency is its own miracle. The small things done in faith shape character more deeply than the grand gestures done in haste. Teach me to honor the unseen effort, the quiet faithfulness that builds foundations. Help me to remember that purpose is not only found in what I do, but in how I do it with gentleness, with love, with peace. Lord, it humbles me to realize that you meet me right where I am, not where I imagine I should be. You are not waiting for me to become impressive before you draw near. You are already here in the ordinary, the kitchen, the desk, the morning commute, the small talk, the pause before speaking. You walk beside me in places others might overlook, reminding me that nothing is too common to be holy when you are present in it. Even the quietest routines can become sanctuaries when done with awareness of you. God, let gratitude anchor me today. Let me wake with thankfulness instead of hurry. Breathe with intention instead of distraction. Gratitude transforms perception. It takes what I see as repetitive and reveals its richness. The same sunrise, the same path, the same people all become new when seen through thankful eyes. Gratitude breaks the illusion of scarcity and replaces it with abundance. When I give thanks, I stop reaching for what is next and start receiving what is already here. Father, teach me that grace is not something I earn, but something I uncover. It is already woven into each hour, waiting to be noticed. The kindness of a stranger, the patience of a friend, the resilience in my own heartbeat, each is a reminder that I am being held. Sometimes I look for proof of your care in dramatic rescues, but more often, you rescue me quietly from anxiety through peace, from restlessness through stillness, from fear through faith that rises softly like dawn. Lord, help me carry this awareness into the places that feel mundane. Let me approach my work as an act of devotion, not duty. Let me listen to others with attention, as though listening to you. Let my words carry gentleness even when I am wary. Let each gesture, no matter how small, reflect love in motion. The world does not need more noise. It needs more kindness. And kindness, I am learning, is a daily miracle disguised as ordinary grace. God, I do not want to miss the lessons hidden in simplicity, in a culture that glorifies constant striving. You invite me to be still enough to notice your nearness. Help me value the quiet miracles that sustain life, the steady rhythm of breath, the unseen provision that keeps me standing, the moments of laughter that remind me joy is not lost. When I start to look for meaning in the spectacular, pull me back to the humble truth that you are as present in a whisper as in a thunderstorm. Father, when I am tempted to chase after what looks significant, remind me that you often work in what seems small. You chose fishermen to carry the gospel, a stable for a king, a mustard seed to describe faith. You have always turned the ordinary into extraordinary through your touch. If you could use loaves and fishes to feed thousands, you can use the simplest parts of my day to feed something eternal. Let me never underestimate the power of quiet faithfulness. Lord, I want to end this day knowing that I noticed you in the sunlight on a stranger's face, in the rhythm of my breathing, in the laughter that breaks through tension, in the peace that arrives without reason. Let awareness of you turn ordinary moments into sacred memories. I do not need constant change to feel alive. I only need constant presence yours. As the light outside shifts from bright to soft, I realize that holiness does not depend on circumstance, but on perception. The same world that once felt routine now feels radiant. You are teaching me to see differently, to recognize that every moment is a meeting point between heaven and earth. Grace has always been here, hidden in the fabric of the everyday, waiting for an open heart to notice. I step into the rest of this day with quiet wonder, carrying the truth that nothing is truly ordinary when it is lived with you, Lord. As the morning continues its quiet rhythm, I sense a tenderness unfolding within me, a realization that grace not only fills the ordinary but begins to heal what has long been hidden. Yesterday's courage. Today's peace. All of it seems to be leading here. The gentle work you do in the unseen chambers of my heart. You do not rush the mending, nor do you shame the wound. You touch what still aches with patience, teaching me that healing is not a single moment, but a slow unveiling. Father, help me trust this process, even when it feels uncertain. God, I have carried pain longer than I realized. Some of it was obvious betrayal, disappointment, words that cut deeper than they should have. But some pain has been quiet, buried beneath business, covered with smiles. I have learned how to function while fractured, how to move through life with unhealed pieces hidden under grace that looked polished on the surface. Yet you see through the surface, and still you stay. You do not recoil from the mess. You call it home ground for restoration. I am learning that healing begins not in pretending wholeness, but in admitting where I am still broken. Father, you have always met people in their pain, never above it, always within it. You touched lepers when no one else would. You restored the blind not just to sight but to dignity. You wept beside those who mourned. You never minimized their suffering, and you never rushed them out of it. That is what gives me courage to let you touch mine. You are not afraid of scars. You carry your own. Every wound on your hands is a reminder that healing is not sterile, it is sacred. Lord, I know that forgiveness is part of this healing, though sometimes it feels impossible. The heart resists letting go, afraid that forgiveness means approval of what was done. But you remind me that forgiveness is not saying it was okay. It is saying I will not let it define me anymore. It is release, not agreement. So I choose, even through trembling, to open my grip. I forgive those who could not love me as I hoped. I forgive myself for the ways I tried to earn what was always meant to be given. I lay down resentment not as a favor to others, but as freedom for my own soul. God, there are wounds that words cannot reach, old losses, silent griefs, moments when I felt unseen. You know each one intimately. You remember what I have forgotten. I ask that you breathe new life into those hidden spaces. Let what once felt like endings become beginnings. Replace bitterness with wisdom, anger with compassion, shame with understanding. I do not want to be defined by what hurt me. I want to be shaped by what healed me. Let love be the loudest voice that speaks over every scar. Father, I have discovered that sometimes healing hurts first. When old pain rises to the surface, it feels like regression. But really it is revelation, your way of showing me what still needs care. Help me not to run from that discomfort. Teach me to sit with it, to invite you into it, to trust that you are not exposing the wound to humiliate, but to restore. Like a physician who cleans what must heal, you touch even the tenderest parts with purpose. Let me stay in your care long enough to be made whole. Lord, help me see healing not as forgetting, but as transformation. The memories may remain, but they can lose their sting. You do not erase the past, you redeem it. The very things that once broke me become bridges to understanding others. My weakness becomes empathy. My pain becomes language for comfort. My scars become proof that restoration is possible. Use my healed places to heal others. And let my journey become a testimony of your tenderness. God, when the world tells me to move on quickly, to toughen up, to numb, remind me that true healing is gentle. It requires time, honesty, and grace that does not keep score. Let me live from that grace today, slow to judge, quick to understand. When I see brokenness in others, let me meet it with the same compassion you have shown me. Teach me to be a safe place for weary souls, not a mirror of their pain, but a reflection of your peace. Father, there are still parts of me do not understand moments when joy feels fragile, when hope flickers instead of burns. But even that is part of healing. You are not asking for perfection. You are asking for permission to keep working, to keep softening, to keep shaping. So I open my heart wider. I will not hide the unfinished places anymore. They are not shameful. They are sacred in progress. Every day that I choose to believe in love again is another layer of healing written across my story. Lord, as sunlight pours through the window, I feel a warmth that seems to come from deeper than the sky. Feels like peace that is not borrowed, but born within. I realize that healing does not mean all pain disappears. It means pain no longer rules. It no longer dictates my worth or my outlook. It becomes a teacher rather than a tyrant. And in that truth, I find rest. I can finally breathe without guarding myself against what was. God, let this peace stay with me through the day, the peace that whispers, I am still being made whole, and that is enough. Healing is not a destination I must hurry toward. It is a journey where every step, even the slow ones, are holy. I will walk it with open hands and a steady heart, trusting that every scar is another place where your light can shine through. The morning continues, and so does your mercy, new again, tender again, healing again. And for the first time in a long while, I feel whole enough to begin. Father, as healing continues to ripple through the hidden places of my heart, I notice something unexpected emerging in its wake, a lightness, fragile but real. It does not roar like laughter or shout like triumph. It hums quietly beneath my breath. Joy, not the fleeting kind that depends on good news or perfect circumstances, but a deeper one that comes softly after tears have dried. It feels almost new, yet ancient at the same time, as it has been waiting underneath sorrow, patient and steady, like sunlight behind the clouds. Lord, help me learn how to live inside this kind of joy, the kind that cannot be taken, only uncovered. God, I used to think joy was something I had to chase, that it lived somewhere in a future where everything was easier. I believed it belonged to people whose lives looked more beautiful, more certain, more complete. But you are teaching me that joy is not a prize for the unbroken. It is a promise for the surrendered. It blooms not after pain, but through it, growing quietly in the soil of gratitude and trust. You do not wait for my story to be perfect before you give me joy. You write it into the mess, the ordinary, the in-between. Joy is not the absence of struggle, it is the presence of you in the middle of it. Lord, sometimes I mistake happiness for joy. Happiness visits with circumstance, but joy abides with truth. Happiness changes when the weather does. Joy remains even in the storm. It is not built on what is happening around me, but on what is unshakable within me. You are the anchor of that joy. You are the reason it survives disappointment, the reason it keeps returning like spring after winter. Teach me to hold joy not as something fragile, but as something fierce, strong enough to stand against despair, humble enough to live quietly in small moments. Father, I ask for the grace to see joy where it hides. In the way the morning light touches a familiar room, in the laughter that finds me unexpectedly, in the silence that feels peaceful instead of empty. Let me not overlook these quiet gifts. When worry begins to pull at my mind, help me remember that joy is not gone. It is just waiting for my attention. It does not need to be created, it needs to be noticed. And when I notice it, I see you again. God, let joy become my strength today. Not a decoration I wear for others, but a deep current running beneath everything I do. When challenges come, let it be my steady foundation. When I face uncertainty, let it remind me that even here, life is still sacred. I do not have to wait for everything to make sense before I rejoice. I can find beauty in the middle of becoming, in the spaces between answers. Because joy is not built on clarity, it is born of trust. Lord, there have been seasons when joy felt like betrayal, when pain was too close, and laughter felt out of place. But you remind me that joy is not disrespect to sorrow. It is resistance to it. It is defiance against despair, a declaration that darkness does not win. You wept, but you also celebrated. You knew the cross was coming. And still, you broke bread, blessed the cup, and sang. If you could hold both sorrow and joy at once, then so can I. Let me carry them together without shame, the H that keeps me human, and the joy that keeps me alive. Father, I want to live as someone who chooses joy intentionally. Not a joy that denies pain, but one that redeems it. A joy that speaks gently into grief and says, even this can be holy. Let joy shape my words, soften my gaze, and widen my compassion. When others see heaviness in my eyes, let them also glimpse hope quietly burning behind it. When I speak, let my tone carry comfort instead of complaint. Let joy become the way I move through the world, steady, kind, unhurried, aware. God, help me to share this joy, not by forcing it on others, but by living it authentically. Let my presence bring peace to those who have forgotten how to smile. Let laughter return where silence has been heavy. Let gratitude ripple outward like light breaking through morning mist. True joy multiplies when given away. It is not meant to be hoarded, but to be lived openly. Generously, freely. Use my life as a reminder that joy is still possible, even after loss, even after disappointment. Lord, I have learned that joy and gratitude walk hand in hand. Gratitude opens the door. Joy walks in and makes itself at home. When I thank you for small things, joy grows. When I notice blessings instead of burdens, joy expands. When I trust you in uncertainty, joy deepens. Let this be my rhythm. Thankfulness in every breath, contentment in every step, praise in every pause. Let my heart remember that joy is not something that happens to me, is something that happens through me, as your spirit fills the spaces where fear once lived. Father, as the day unfolds, I can feel this joy settling deeper, no longer fragile but firm. It does not erase reality. It redeems it. It lets me see the world not as a place of constant battle, but as a field where grace keeps growing. Even the moments that challenge me now feel different, less like threats, more like invitations to trust again. Joy does that. It changes how I see everything. It paints even ordinary struggles with the color of hope. The morning has fully arrived now, light spilling across everything it touches, and I realize this is what joy feels like. Illumination. It does not shout for attention. It simply shines, quietly but persistently, turning even familiar places golden. That is how I want to live today, not chasing light, but becoming it. I will walk forward with this quiet strength, not afraid of shadows, not waiting for perfection, but alive with gratitude. For joy is not what I seek anymore, it is what I have found. Right here, in the steady presence of you. Father, the quiet joy that has taken root in me begins to widen, stretching beyond the edges of my own heart. It softens the way I see others. It is strange and beautiful how healing always seems to lead outward, how once peace enters the soul, it cannot help but overflow. Joy does not stay contained. It turns into compassion. And I realize now that this, too, is your design. The love you give is never meant to end with me. It is meant to move through me. Teach me, Lord, to love as freely as I have been loved. God, I confess that sometimes it is easier to talk about love than to live it. My heart still hesitates, protecting itself from disappointment, from being misunderstood, from giving more than it receives. Yet you never loved with calculation. You gave fully, knowing some would turn away, knowing love would cost you everything. You loved without demand, without keeping score. And in that kind of love, I find both conviction and comfort. I want to learn that way of loving, not cautious, not convenient, but courageous, the kind that stays soft even when the world grows hard. Lord, compassion feels simple until it asks something of me. It asks for patience when irritation feels justified, for listening when I would rather speak, for gentleness when pride wants control. It asks for presence when problems have no easy answers. Compassion is not a feeling. It is a discipline of the heart. It requires humility, the willingness to enter another's pain without needing to fix it. The courage to see people as you see them, not by their behavior, but by their brokenness, not by their failures, but by their longing to be whole. Father, I want to be someone who carries peace into every room, not because life is perfect, but because love is stronger. Let me notice those who hide their hurt behind laughter, those who grow quiet when the world grows loud. Let me be slow to judge and quick to understand. When I am tempted to respond in frustration, remind me that every harsh word I withhold creates space for healing. Let kindness become my instinct, not my afterthought. God, sometimes compassion feels costly. It drains energy, time, emotion. But you remind me that love is not depletion. It is renewal. When I give from a place of peace, I do not run out, I am refilled. Compassion becomes the river through which your spirit flows. It transforms not only the one who receives, but also the one who gives. It makes the heart larger, the soul gentler, the mind clearer. It is the quiet miracle of divine exchange. Grace received becomes grace given. Mercy remembered becomes mercy shared. Lord, teach me to love in the moments that test me most. When someone's words sting, let understanding rise before defense. When I see injustice, give me both courage to act and tenderness to stay grounded in love. Not anger when people fail to reciprocate kindness. Let me still give it, Not because they earned it, but because you never stop giving to me. True compassion does not depend on worthiness. It flows from abundance. You are the source of that abundance, the well that never runs dry. Father, I want to see through eyes of mercy. When I look at the world, it is easy to see division, selfishness, cruelty. But beneath all of that, there are stories, hearts fighting battles unseen. Let me remember that every person I encounter carries something heavy, even the ones who appear strongest. Let empathy replace assumption. Let prayer replace complaint. Let my first response to brokenness not be criticism, but intercession. I want to speak less about what is wrong and pray more for what can be restored. God, help me carry compassion not only for others, but for myself. Sometimes I am harshest to the person you love most in me. I replay mistakes, magnify flaws, and measure worth by impossible standards. But you are gentle, even with my weakness. You whisper forgiveness when I demand perfection. Teach me to offer that same gentleness inward, so I may offer it outward more fully. Compassion begins within. It grows from the soil of grace. Lord, I realize that compassion does not always look like agreement. Sometimes it must set boundaries. Speak truth, or walk away from what harms peace. But even then, can do so without bitterness. Real love does not abandon dignity. It protects it, both mine and others. Let my compassion be wise, not naive, strong, not sentimental. Let it move with discernment, guided by truth but fueled by kindness. Father, when I see suffering that feels too big to touch, poverty, war, loss, despair, help me remember that compassion starts small. One word, one gesture, one act of kindness can ripple farther than I imagine. I do not need to heal the world to participate in healing. I only need to love the one in front of me. Faithfully, quietly, sincerely, that is where miracles begin. You have always worked through small seeds, through hands that choose to help, through hearts that choose to care. God, let this compassion shape the rhythm of my day, in the way I speak, in the way I listen, in the way I forgive. Let me see interruptions not as inconveniences, but as invitations to serve. Let me carry peace into chaos, hope into weariness, light into doubt. When I leave a conversation, let people feel lighter, not heavier. When I walk into a space, let my presence bring calm, not noise. Compassion is not what I do, it is who I become when your love is alive in me. The morning has deepened now. The sun stands higher, spilling over rooftops, painting the world in light that feels almost merciful. It reminds me of how you love without favoritism, without hesitation, touching everything that dares to face you. I want my heart to shine that way, quietly but steadily, reflecting what it has received. The world does not need me to be impressive, it needs me to be kind. And kindness, when it comes from you, carries eternal weight. So I will walk into this day with compassion as my prayer, in motion unseen by many, but known by you, living proof that love, once awakened, never ends where it begins. Father, the compassion that has begun to take root within me feels both humbling and steadying. It softens how I see others, but it also gently exposes something deeper, the quiet fear that still lingers beneath my faith. Even as I give love freely, a small voice still asks, will you really take care of me? It is not a loud doubt, but a whisper that returns in moments of uncertainty, when plans shift, when outcomes remain unseen. And yet, I know this voice is an invitation, not a condemnation. It calls me toward trust, the kind that is not passive, but practiced trust as discipline, not as accident. Lord, help me learn that discipline. God, I have often confused trust with convenience. When things flowed smoothly, I called it faith. When they did not, I called it failure. But true trust is not proven by ease, it is revealed by endurance. It is what remains when understanding disappears. You do not ask me to figure everything out. You ask me to keep walking even when the path is dim. Trust does not demand explanation. It rests in revelation. You are good. You are here. You are enough. Teach me to anchor my heart in that truth when emotions try to rewrite it. Father, I want to live this day believing that your timing is not a delay, but a design. You see farther than I can imagine. You are already where I am headed, yet I often cling to control as if it could guarantee security. I plan. I predict. I rehearse outcomes that never come, and in doing so, I miss the grace of now. You remind me that faith is not foresight. It is dependence. I cannot trust you fully while holding tightly to my own blueprints. So I place them in your hands again, not because I have stopped caring, but because I finally understand that surrender is not losing control. It is giving it back to the one who never lost it. Lord, there is a stillness that only trust can bring. It quiets the mind that spins in worry and the heart that races toward the unknown. It does not silence questions, but holds them gently until answers come or until peace replaces the need for them. You have been patient with my hesitation, gracious with my delays. Even when I doubted, you never withdrew. You stayed, steady and near, waiting for my faith to catch up to your faithfulness. Today, I choose to close the distance. I choose trust, not the fragile kind that crumbles in hardship, but the kind that digs deeper roots every time the wind blows. God, I am beginning to see that trust is not a feeling I wait for, but a practice I return to. It is a rhythm. Inhale, surrender. Exhale, fear. It is choosing again and again to rest in your promise instead of my plan. And like all discipline, it is learned through repetition. Every time I resist worry, every time I give thanks before the outcome, every time I let go of what I cannot control, my soul grows stronger in its faith. Let this become my pattern daily. Deliberate. Quiet confidence in your character. Father, when I struggle to trust, remind me of the history between us. Remind me of the nights you carried me through despair, the mornings you renewed my strength, the countless times you turned loss into wisdom. My story is filled with evidence of your care. I do not need new proof. I only need to remember the old. Gratitude is the doorway back to trust. When I rehearse your goodness, fear loses its grip. When I remember how you have never failed me, the future feels less like a threat and more like another opportunity for you to prove faithful again. Lord, help me trust you not just with outcomes, but with timing. Waiting is rarely comfortable, but it is sacred ground where trust grows deep. I want to stop treating waiting as wasted time and start seeing it as the workshop of faith. You are shaping me in every pause, every unanswered prayer, every slow unfolding. What feels like delay is often your protection. What feels like silence is often your preparation. Let me learn to rest in that mystery without resenting it. God, sometimes I mistake resignation for trust. I call it surrender when it is really hopelessness wearing spiritual words. But true trust is not defeat, it is confidence disguised as peace. It believes not because everything is clear, but because you are constant. Trust looks at the storm and says, "Still, I believe." It walks forward even when the map has faded, guided by memory of light. That is the trust I want, the kind that sings even when it does not see dawn yet, because it knows dawn always comes. Father, I want my trust to be visible in how I live today. Let it shape my posture, how I speak, how I respond, how I rest. Let it show in my patience, my tone, my choices. Let people sense it not through words, but through calmness. The world is full of hurry and fear. I want to be an interruption of peace. When others are anxious, let them find stillness near me, not because I have answers, but because I carry assurance. The one who trusts does not need to shout. Trust whispers through composure. Lord, when doubt comes again, and I know it will help me meet it with honesty, not shame, let me bring it straight to you rather than letting it grow in secret. You do not scold questioning hearts. You meet them with truth. Even Thomas was invited to touch the wounds. So I will not hide my uncertainty. I will hand it to you, knowing that faith often begins in that very gesture. God, as sunlight continues to fill the day, I feel the same warmth settling deeper into my soul, the warmth of knowing I do not walk alone, that I never have. I cannot predict every outcome, but I can predict your faithfulness. You will be good tomorrow just as you are today. You will guide me then as you guide me now. I do not need to see the horizon to move forward. I only need to keep my eyes on you. So I step into this day with open hands, not clinging but trusting. I choose to rest instead of wrestle, to believe instead of fear, to walk instead of wait for certainty. This trust is not naive. It is deliberate. It is the discipline of remembering that your heart toward me has never changed. And as I move through the hours ahead, I will carry that truth quietly within me, like a steady heartbeat, the song of trust that keeps me anchored in the middle of whatever may come. Lord, the trust that has begun to take shape in me feels like a quiet river, steady, gentle, but strong enough to carve through fear. It moves beneath every thought, every choice, every moment of waiting. Trust, I am learning, is not an emotion. It is a way of living, and as it deepens, it leads me somewhere even greater to surrender. This is the place where trust becomes action, where faith stops being something I speak and becomes something I practice. Father, you are teaching me that surrender is not about losing control. It is about resting in love. God, I have spent much of my life trying to hold everything together: plans, people, dreams, responsibilities. I thought strength meant control, that letting go meant failure, but control has only made me wary, and fear has disguised itself as order. The truth is, the world was never mine to hold. It was yours from the beginning. And you have never asked me to manage everything, only to trust you with what I cannot change. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the moment the soul stops fighting what was never meant to be wrestled and starts breathing again. Father, help me surrender with joy, not with resignation. Too often I come to you with clenched fists, releasing only when exhaustion forces me to. But I want surrender to be a willing choice, not a reluctant one. I want to hand over what I cannot control before it breaks me. Teach me to live open-handed, to give without fear, to love without demand, to accept what is unfolding without resentment. The one who trusts deeply can surrender freely. Let that be true of me. Lord, surrender is not silence or apathy. It is the active decision to let you lead. It is the prayer that says, I do not understand, but I am still willing. It is peace standing in the middle of uncertainty. Declaring, your will is still good. I have learned that surrender is not the end of desire, but the purification of it. It does not erase dreams. It aligns them. It does not kill hope. It sanctifies it. When I lay my plans before you, you do not discard them, you refine them until they reflect your heart more than my own ambition. God, I surrender not only my fears but also my expectations. I surrender the need for outcomes to look a certain way, for people to respond the way I hope, for my story to unfold according to my timeline. You know the turns ahead that I cannot see. You know which detours are protection and which delays are preparation. When I resist, remind me that surrender is not giving up, it is giving in to something better. When I let go, I do not fall. I am caught. Father, I surrender my past to you, the regrets that replay, the choices I wish I could rewrite, the words I cannot take back. You have already forgiven what I keep remembering. Help me to release what you have already redeemed. Let the weight of yesterday fall away so that I can step into the light of today unburdened. And I surrender my future to the worries, the what-ifs, the questions that never stop forming. You are already there, shaping what will be, and I do not need to run ahead of grace. My only task is to live faithfully here, in the sacred present where you dwell. Lord, I surrender not only my pain but also my pride. It is pride that whispers I can fix myself, that healing depends on my effort, that worth must be earned. But your grace is not a reward, it is a rescue. I do not need to prove my value to the one who created it. Teach me to lay down the armor I wear to appear strong. The world may honor control, but you honor humility. And humility is simply the truth that I am not in charge, and that is good news. God, surrender feels like release, but also like trust in motion. It requires courage to let go of what feels familiar, even when it is heavy. But you never ask me to surrender without also promising to sustain me. Every loss I hand to you becomes a seed. Every burden I release makes room for blessing. The hands that let go become the hands that receive. Teach me to see surrender not as emptiness, but as space for grace. Father, when I am tempted to take back what I have placed in your hands, whisper to me gently, you are safe here. Remind me that surrender is not a single act, but a rhythm daily, hourly, sometimes moment by moment. Some days I will release easily. Other days I will fight to trust again. But each time I choose surrender, I grow lighter. Each time I yield control, I feel freer. I am learning that freedom is not found in getting my way. It is found in giving you yours. Lord, let my surrender show in how I live today. Let it soften my reactions, calm my tone, and slow my pace. Let it be visible in how I handle interruptions, how I forgive offenses, how I accept uncertainty. Surrender transforms everything it touches. It turns frustration into patience, disappointment into peace, and fear into faith. Let that transformation begin in me, ripple through me, and touch every life I encounter. God, I do not want to live half-surrendered, holding back the parts that feel too precious to risk. You are worthy of everything, my hopes, my questions, my very breath. I want to trust you enough to let go completely, not because I have to, but because I want to, because I have seen that what you give in return is always better: peace instead of anxiety, purpose instead of confusion, love instead of striving. Father, the light outside feels softer now, as if the day itself understands this truth. The sky holds no anxiety about its next color. It simply reflects what the sun gives it. I want to live that way, reflecting what you give, not what I fear. Surrender is not the end of strength. It is its beginning. It is not weakness, but alignment with wisdom that knows love never loses. So I rest in this moment, letting my hands open, my breath steady, my heart quiet. Whatever comes next, it will meet me in the place where surrender and trust become one, and where your presence is enough to hold it all. Father, as surrender settles deep within me, I begin to feel something stirring, a quiet power rising from the place where peace took root. It is not loud or showy. It is not the strength the world admires. It is a calm endurance, a resilience born not of striving, but of resting in you. I used to think strength meant never breaking, but I see now that true strength is the courage to bend without losing faith. It is the steady heartbeat of trust that keeps going even when life shifts beneath my feet. Lord, let this strength grow in me, not as a shield against life, but as a song through it. God, there are mornings when energy feels scarce and hope feels small. The body is weary, the mind clouded, the spirit fragile. But even then, you whisper, my strength is made perfect in weakness. That truth humbles me. You are not asking me to perform my way into worthiness. You do not demand a flawless spirit. You only ask for willingness, the open heart that says, I can but you can. And that is where the miracle begins. You do not pour strength into the already strong. You lift the ones who have fallen. Steady the ones who tremble. Breathe life into those who have grown tired of trying. Lord, there is a kind of strength that comes from desperation, a human push to survive at all costs. But what you offer is different. It is quiet, sustaining, endless. It does not burn out. It renews. It does not depend on adrenaline, but on abiding. You teach me that renewal is not found in running faster, but in returning to your presence, to your peace, to the truth that I am never alone. Every moment spent with you restores what the world drains away. Every breath surrendered in prayer becomes a bridge between exhaustion and grace. Father, teach me to stop measuring strength by productivity. The world tells me that to be strong is to do more, to handle everything, to appear unshaken. But you remind me that sometimes strength is in stillness, the choice to rest rather than to rush, to pause rather than to prove. The tree does not strive to grow. It simply remains rooted, drawing from the unseen source below. So I will stay rooted in you, trusting that what looks like stillness on the surface is actually growth beneath. When I rest in you, I am not quitting, I am being renewed. God, help me recognize the difference between carrying responsibility and carrying burdens that are not mine. Too often, I mistake anxiety for care, as if worry could change anything. But you said, cast your burdens on me, for I care for you. You never designed my shoulders to bear what only you can hold. Let me be faithful in what I am called to do, but free from the weight of what is beyond me. That freedom is strength. That surrender is courage. Lord, when challenges come, and they always do, help me respond, not with panic, but with perspective. Remind me that nothing I face today is bigger than the one who walks beside me. The mountain may be tall, but you made the mountain. The storm may rage, but you calm the sea. The valley may stretch long, but you are the light that leads through it. I am not meant to be fearless. I am meant to remember who fights for me. Strength is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to keep walking while faith leads and fear follows behind. Father, there are times when the weight of waiting feels heavy, when the future seems uncertain and progress invisible. Yet even then, you are at work beneath what I can see, like roots deep in the soil. Your grace is growing in places hidden from sight. Renewal happens quietly before it appears outwardly. Help me trust that process. When my prayers seem unanswered, remind me that silence is not absence. You are always near, waving restoration in unseen ways. The waiting is not wasted, it is where resilience is reborn. God, I want to be strong enough to remain gentle, to face opposition without bitterness, to stay kind in a world that confuses kindness with weakness. Let your Spirit fortify me from within, shaping my character more than my circumstances. When life presses hard, let what comes out of me be patience instead of complaint, faith instead of fear. True strength is not in how loudly I stand, but in how deeply I love. Let me reflect that kind of strength today, the strength that does not need to prove itself to be real. Lord, I remember moments when I felt too wary to continue, when I thought the light had gone out for good. But then, in the smallest ways, you revived me. A song, a smile, a sunrise. Hope always returns, quietly but surely. That is how you work, not with noise, but with nurture. You renew me not with demands, but with delight. You do not force me to rise. You invite me to breathe. Every new morning is proof that grace begins again. I will no longer fear my weakness. I will let it become the doorway through which your power enters. Father, help me live today from that strength, the steady, peaceful, enduring kind that does not fade with circumstance. Let my strength be anchored in presence, not performance. When I speak, let my words carry calm. When I act, let my motives be pure. When I rest, let it be with trust, not guilt. Renewal is not a single moment. It is a rhythm, a continual exchange between my limits and your limitless grace. God, the morning has stretched into light now, golden and alive, touching every surface with warmth. It feels like a reminder that renewal is already happening. Even when I am unaware, the same sun that rose yesterday rises again today. Unhurried, unwavering, faithful. That is how your mercy works. It does not run out. It returns. It does not depend on my worth. It flows from your heart. I can face the day not because I am strong, but because you are, because your strength is not something I must earn, but something I can rest in. So I step forward into this day with quiet confidence. I do not know what will come, but I know who will meet me there. The one who renews my spirit, who lifts my weary heart, who turns surrender into strength. And as I breathe in the morning air, I carry this truth with me. The same power that raised the sun now rises within me. Steady, silent, and sure. Father, the strength that has begun to renew my heart carries me into a deeper lesson, the art of waiting with peace. It is here, in the still spaces between what has begun and what will be, that patience becomes holy. The world tells me to move faster, to chase, to grasp, to measure life in progress and proof. But you invite me to slow down, to breathe, to believe that unseen things are still unfolding. I am learning that patience is not simply the absence of hurry. It is the quiet confidence that you are still at work when nothing seems to change. Lord, teach me to wait not with anxiety, but with adoration. God, patience used to feel like punishment, I saw it as delay, as if silence meant neglect. But now I see that patience is protection. You do not withhold to wound me. You withhold to prepare me. You are aligning hearts, shaping paths, softening what is hard, and strengthening what is weak. Waiting is not wasted when you are the one writing the story. Even when the page feels blank, your hand is still moving. My impatience wants clarity. Your wisdom offers trust, and so I stay. Not idle, but attentive, listening for the small signs that you are near. Lord, I think of how nature never rushes, yet everything is accomplished. The seed does not bloom the day it is planted. The dawn does not burst without the hush of darkness before it. The tide moves in rhythm, not in haste. And somehow, you call me to live like that, rooted in timing that belongs to eternity. Teach me to find beauty in the slow unfolding of your plans. Let me not despise small beginnings or quiet seasons. What grows slowly lasts longer. What is formed gently is never fragile. Father, patience is love stretched over time. It is choosing peace when answers delay, choosing faith when doors stay closed, choosing gratitude even when progress is unseen. It is hard, but holy. Every moment of waiting becomes a conversation with you, a space where hope is tested and deepened. You are not only the destination, you are the companion through the process. The longer I walk with you, the more I realize that patience is not passive, it is active trust. The kind that says, even if it takes time, I know you are faithful. God, when I am tempted to rush ahead, remind me of the moments I regretted forcing what was not ready. The fruit that ripens too soon cannot last. The wound that closes too quickly can reopen. Growth takes time, and so does healing. You are not late. You are thorough. Your pace may not match mine, but it always matches purpose. When I learn to align with your rhythm, I stop striving and start flowing. My spirit becomes like a river, steady, sure, shaped by patience rather than pressure. Lord, there are days when I grow restless, when prayer feels repetitive and answers distant. In those moments, let patience guard my heart like a gatekeeper. Let it whisper, do not move until peace says go. Waiting is not weakness. It is discernment. The world moves in noise, but you often speak in silence. So I will listen differently, not for volume, but for presence. Sometimes patience is hearing you in the quiet, instead of demanding you in the thunder. Father, you are patient with me every day. You wait for me to return when I wander, to trust when I hesitate, to forgive when I falter. You do not rush my growth, and you never shame my slowness. If the Creator of time can wait, then surely I can learn to wait too. Let your patience toward me become my pattern toward others. When people disappoint or delay, remind me to respond with grace instead of irritation, understanding instead of control. Love that lasts must be patient first. God, let patience shape how I see the present. Instead of measuring success by speed, help me measure it by faithfulness. Instead of focusing on what is unfinished, help me celebrate what is forming. The waiting itself is sacred ground. It is here that I learn endurance, humility, and trust. It is here that hope matures into wisdom. You are building something lasting in me, not instant relief, but inner resilience. The longer it takes, the deeper it roots. The deeper it roots, the stronger it stands. Lord, sometimes I think I am waiting for you. But really, you are waiting for me to slow down enough to listen, to trust enough to release control, to love enough to let time refine me. Patience is not about getting what I want later. It is about becoming who I need to be in the meantime. When I wait with faith, I am no longer stuck, I am being shaped. The waiting becomes a workshop of grace, a classroom where peace is learned, not taught. Father, let patience fill my day like a quiet rhythm. When traffic delays, let gratitude rise instead of anger. When plans change, let trust replace frustration. When dreams take longer than I hoped, let hope stretch wider instead of breaking. The impatient heart says, "When will this end?" But the patient heart whispers, "What are you teaching me here?" Let me live from that second voice. Let me see that every delay holds a hidden lesson. Every pause contains a quiet blessing. God, the morning air feels slower now. The sunlight resting gently instead of rushing to blaze. It mirrors what you are doing in me, turning urgency into peace, haste into holiness. I used to chase the next thing, believing fulfillment waited somewhere ahead. But you are showing me that fulfillment is found in faithfulness, not in finishing. Patience is the doorway to peace, and I walk through it willingly today. So I will wait, Lord, not with clenched fists, but with open hands. Not counting seconds, but trusting seasons. Not demanding proof, but finding joy in process. I may not know how long it will take, but I know who holds the time. You do not delay to punish, you delay to perfect. The work you begin, you always complete. So I will stand here, in the sacred stillness of now, letting patience do what hurry never could: grow me, ground me, and make me whole in the quiet company of your love. Father, as patience continues to shape my heart, I begin to see another truth rising from its depths: the call to forgiveness. It feels like the next breath after waiting, the next step after trusting. Patience teaches me to endure the delay, but forgiveness teaches me to release the weight. I can sense it now, the quiet burden of old pain, the memories that still carry sharp edges, the moments I tried to bury but never healed. You are inviting me to let them go, not because they no longer matter, because carrying them keeps me from moving freely. Lord, teach me that forgiveness is not something I offer to excuse the wrong, but to restore my own peace. God, I have mistaken forgiveness for weakness, believing it meant surrendering justice or denying truth. But you show me that forgiveness is not denial, it is divine defiance against bitterness. It is choosing freedom when resentment demands captivity. It is strength, not surrender. To forgive is not to say, "What you did was right," but to say, "It will not rule me anymore." You do not ask me to forget, you ask me to release. The past does not change by my anger, but my heart can change by your grace. Lord, there are names and faces that come to mind when I speak this word: people who hurt me, disappointed me, left me feeling small or unseen. Some wounds were deep, others unintentional, but all left marks. I have built quiet walls to protect myself, thinking distance would heal what distance only hid. But you remind me that walls may keep pain out, yet they also keep peace from entering. True healing begins not when I am avenged, but when I allow your mercy to reach the places I have sealed shut. So I open those doors now, one by one, even if my hands tremble. Father, I forgive not because I have forgotten, but because I finally remember how much I have been forgiven. You have looked at my own failings and called me loved. You have seen my rebellion and called me redeemed. You have watched me wander and still called me home. How could I receive such mercy and withhold it from others? Forgiveness is not a transaction. It is an overflow of grace. You poured yours into me so that I might pour it out. Let me be a vessel that refuses to hold grudges, a heart that refuses to harden. God, forgiveness is a process, not a moment. Some days it feels natural, others like a fight against memory itself. The hurt resurfaces. The old anger whispers again, and I have to choose once more. But you are patient with my progress. Each time I choose forgiveness, even through tears, it loosens the grip of pain a little more. Like waves shaping the shore, grace works slowly but surely, wearing down the edges of resentment until only peace remains. Lord, help me forgive not only others but also myself. There are mistakes I replay in silence, moments I wish I could undo, words I wish I never spoke. Shame can be its own prison quiet. Invisible, relentless. But you never intended me to live locked inside regret. You remind me that repentance restores, not ruins, what I confess. You cleanse what I surrender. You redeem. Teach me to speak to myself with the same gentleness you use with me. Self-forgiveness is not arrogance, it is agreement with your mercy. Father, there are also times when forgiveness must exist without reconciliation. Some wounds cannot safely reopen. Some people will not understand. But even then, forgiveness remains holy. It is not always about restoring relationship. It is about restoring peace. It is releasing control of what others choose and entrusting justice to you. You are the righteous judge, the healer of unseen harm. I do not have to carry the burden of fixing what only you can redeem. That freedom is enough. God, let forgiveness shape my speech and my silence. When I speak of those who hurt me, let my words be marked by restraint, not revenge. When memories rise uninvited, let gratitude answer before anger. When I see those who wronged me walking in blessing, let me rejoice instead of resent. That is when I know forgiveness has done its full work, when I can wish good for those who once caused pain. That is the freedom only you can give. Lord, I see now that forgiveness is not just a gift I give. It is a life I live. It transforms how I see the world. I begin to notice grace everywhere, in the stranger who smiles, in the kindness that interrupts my day, in the mercy that meets me each morning. Every act of forgiveness becomes a reflection of yours. It is the echo of heaven through human hearts. When I forgive, I am participating in redemption itself. You take what was broken and turn it into blessing, what was heavy and make it holy. Father, there is such peace in release. The anger that once kept me alert now feels foreign, like a language I no longer speak. The wounds that once defined me are now stories of your faithfulness. You have shown me that healing and forgiveness are intertwined. One cannot exist without the other. To heal without forgiving is to close a wound that still holds a thorn. To forgive without healing is to speak words the heart has not yet believed. But when both meet, grace blooms. God, as the morning light stretches fully across the sky, I feel the same light inside my spirit. It touches the corners I once kept dark, revealing that forgiveness was not loss, but liberation. I have not given anything away. I have gained back my peace, the freedom to love again, the freedom to hope without fear, the freedom to breathe without bitterness. So today, I will live as one who is unburdened. I will love without suspicion, speak without venom, walk without the shadow of yesterday behind me. Forgiveness has turned my pain into purpose and my scars into songs. And as I step forward into this new morning, I carry only what is like your mercy, your peace, and the freedom that flows from a heart finally free. Father, as forgiveness flows through me and sets my spirit free, a new stillness begins to form quiet. unshaken, and full of light. Feels like the calm after the storm. Not because the winds have stopped entirely, but because peace now lives within me. The more I release, the more I find. Forgiveness opened the door, but what steps in now is contentment. A deep awareness that I already have enough because I have you. Lord, help me understand that peace is not something I wait to receive. It is something I awaken to. God, I have spent so much of my life reaching, always chasing the next thing, a new goal, a better season, another assurance that I am doing enough. Yet every time I reached the summit, the horizon only stretched further. I was always running toward what I thought would finally make me whole. But it was never out there. The peace I sought was the one I had been too busy to notice, quietly waiting within every moment where I paused long enough to breathe. Now, I see that contentment is not the result of having everything, but of needing less. Lord, you remind me that contentment does not mean complacency. It is not a refusal to dream or hope, but the freedom to no longer need tomorrow to fix today. It is gratitude in motion, faith that rests instead of strives. It is the soft strength of a heart that says, even here, I am enough, because you are enough. I used to think peace came after problems were solved, but you are teaching me that peace often comes in the middle of them. It is not found in perfect conditions. It is born in perfect trust. Father, I look around at the world and see how easily we confuse abundance with satisfaction. We collect things, titles, and experiences hoping they will quiet the longing, but the soul remains hungry until it feeds on what lasts. You are the only portion that satisfies without exhausting. Everything else fades or demands more. But your presence fills the heart without draining it. Let me live lightly, detached from what cannot last, anchored only in what is eternal. God, help me see blessings I once overlooked, the rhythm of my breath, the warmth of sunlight, the laughter that interrupts sorrow, the meal shared without hurry. These are not small things. They are sacred reminders that heaven's generosity surrounds me daily. Gratitude opens my eyes to the miracle of ordinary life. When I count what is already mine, the H for what I lack loses its voice. Teach me to live from that awareness, to wake thankful, to work with purpose, to rest without fear. Lord, contentment does not mean every desire disappears. It means desire finds its right direction. It turns away from comparison and turns toward communion. I no longer want what others have. I want what you choose for me. I no longer envy their path. I honor mine. When I stop comparing, I start seeing. I see that my life, with its specific joys and struggles, is not missing anything essential. You have given me exactly what I need for this moment, and that is enough. Father, sometimes peace feels fragile, easily shaken by news, by loss, by uncertainty. But you show me that true contentment is not dependent on stability, it creates it. When I rest in you, I no longer need everything around me to make sense. The same waves that once frightened me now remind me of your consistency. The tides come and go, but you remain. The seasons shift, but your goodness does not. Contentment is not the absence of change. It is the presence of confidence that you never change. God, I want to live simply but fully, with a heart uncluttered by worry. Let me hold what I have with gratitude, not with greed. Let me enjoy blessings without idolizing them. Let me release what fades without fear of lack. True wealth is not in what I possess, but in how deeply I can appreciate what I have. Gratitude multiplies what it touches, while discontentment diminishes even abundance. So I choose gratitude today, again and again, until it becomes my way of breathing. Lord, when anxiety begins to whisper that I am behind, remind me that I am not late to my own story. Nothing good comes before its time. You are not in a hurry, and neither must I be. Contentment allows me to trust the pace of grace. The moment I stop striving, I begin to notice how perfectly you have timed every chapter, how every delay protected me, how every closed door redirected me, how every unanswered prayer became the foundation for something better. What peace there is in knowing that nothing was wasted, and nothing is missing. Father, contentment also changes how I love. When I am no longer living from emptiness, I stop demanding from others what only you can give. I no longer need constant affirmation to feel secure, or validation to feel valuable. I can love without needing to be loved back in the same way. I can give freely because I am already full. Contentment turns relationships from competition into communion. It lets me celebrate others' blessings without feeling diminished by them. God, I realize now that peace is not something I enter occasionally. It is the atmosphere of a surrendered heart. It does not depend on my surroundings. It transforms them. Even in the noise of life, I can carry silence inside. Even in chaos, I can move slowly. Even in uncertainty, I can stand still. This peace is not borrowed. It is born within, planted by your spirit, watered by trust, and guarded by gratitude. The day stretches wider, sunlight spilling across the world like a promise. It feels as if creation itself is at peace, each thing being exactly what it was made to be. The trees do not wish to be mountains, nor the rivers to be oceans. They find beauty in simply existing as they are. So will I. I do not need to be more, to have more, or to know more to be whole. I am complete because I am yours. So I walk forward into this day with calmness that cannot be shaken. My heart is quiet, not because life is easy, because your presence is steady. I am no longer chasing what was never lost. I have found peace in the place I once overlooked the present. And as I breathe in the still morning air, I whisper this truth into the silence of my soul. I have enough. I am enough, because you are enough. Father, from the peace of contentment rises another call, a stirring, deep and quiet, that asks me to move forward again. Peace does not mean standing still. It becomes the ground from which courage grows. I can feel it now, the subtle shift from rest to readiness. The heart you have calmed, you now invite to act. Faith is no longer only a belief I hold within. It is a courage I must live out loud. Lord, teach me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to trust you more than what I see. God, courage has always felt like something reserved for the fearless, the ones who charge into the unknown without hesitation. But you remind me that faith-filled courage looks different. It trembles, yet it moves. It asks questions, yet still obeys. It steps out while the outcome remains hidden. The courage you give does not roar. It whispers. Even if I do not understand, I will still go. I want that kind of bravery, not born from pride, but from presence. The deep knowing that wherever I go, you go with me. Lord, sometimes fear disguises itself as logic, convincing me that caution is wisdom. It tells me to wait until everything is certain before move, but faith rarely offers such clarity. It offers companionship instead. You never promised me a map, only your hand. Every step with you is a step into trust, a journey of surrender meeting obedience. Courage begins when I stop waiting for fear to leave and start walking despite it. You do not ask me to be unafraid. You ask me to believe that love is stronger than fear. Father, Courage also means returning to what I once left undone, the dreams I abandoned out of doubt, the words I was too afraid to speak, the calling I quietly postponed. You are reminding me that faith never expires. What you placed in my heart still waits for a yes. The seasons may have changed, but your purpose has not. You have not forgotten what you whispered long ago. Give me the courage to begin again, not from the same place of striving, but from a place of peace. When I act in your timing, even small steps become sacred. God, help me face uncertainty with open eyes instead of anxious ones. The future may be unknown to me, but it is already familiar to you. You are not surprised by what awaits. You have already gone ahead to prepare the way. The same God who parted seas and raised mountains can handle what lies before me. When my heart wavers, remind me of every time you have proven faithful, how you turned fear into strength, loss into lesson, and hesitation into growth. The memory of your goodness is my armor. Lord, I want courage that is kind, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that endures. The courage to stay gentle in a harsh world. The courage to keep believing when cynicism feels easier. The courage to love again after heartbreak, to forgive again after betrayal, to rise again after disappointment. This kind of courage does not make noise, it builds quietly, one act of faith at a time. It is the courage of the cross, the willingness to choose love even when it costs something. Father, sometimes courage means standing alone. There will be moments when conviction isolates, when obedience looks foolish, when faith makes no sense to others. In those moments, let me stand with grace, not defensiveness. Let me speak truth with humility, not pride. You never called me to impress the world, only to reflect you in it. Give me strength to be faithful even when unseen, to stay steady when misunderstood. Courage is not proving I am right. It is living in a way that honors you, no matter the outcome. God, I realize that courage is not only for grand moments. It is needed in the small ones too, the courage to get out of bed when the soul feels heavy, to be kind when no one notices, to pray when words feel dry. Courage is woven into the ordinary, transforming daily faithfulness into eternal impact. Help me see that the quiet obedience of today prepares me for the unknowns of tomorrow. Every small act of faith builds a foundation strong enough to carry great things. Lord, fear often paints vivid pictures of what could go wrong, but faith imagines what you can make right. It dares to see possibility where logic sees limitation. You are not calling me to reckless confidence, but to divine courage to believe that your presence is enough to make the impossible possible. When I walk in that truth, even my weakness becomes strength because it draws from your power, not mine. Father, I know courage requires trust, and trust requires release. There will be moments when the path narrows, when the next step feels risky. But I no longer want to live half alive, bound by what-ifs. If you call me to the deep, I will step off the shore. If you ask me to forgive, I will let go again. If you lead me into stillness, I will stay, whatever you ask. I want my answer to be yes, not because I am fearless, but because I am faithful. God, courage does not guarantee outcomes, it guarantees presence. Even when the storm rages, I am not alone. You are in the boat, calm in the chaos, peace in the panic. When I focus on you, fear loses its volume. The waves may still rise, but they no longer define me. Courage comes not from control, but from communion. Not from knowing the plan, but from knowing the planner. The light outside shifts again. Softer now, yet stronger in warmth. It feels like a reflection of what courage truly is: quiet but radiant, humble but powerful. I realize now that courage is not something I earn. It is something I receive when I stay near to you. As long as I walk in your presence, I cannot walk in fear. So I step forward into this day, not rushing, not retreating, but moving with purpose. My hands are open, my heart steady, my gaze fixed on you. Courage is not about the absence of trembling, it is about moving anyway. And as I breathe in the still morning air, I know this truth: wherever faith leads, love will follow, and that is enough. Lord, as courage steadies my steps and faith leads me forward, I begin to sense a quiet illumination within the soft, unwavering glow of gratitude. It rises not as a reaction to comfort, but as a revelation of grace. Gratitude is the language of the soul that finally sees clearly. When fear fades and trust deepens, the eyes of the heart begin to open. And suddenly, I see blessings everywhere. Father, you have never stopped giving. It was I who stopped noticing. Now, I want to live with eyes that see and a heart that never forgets to thank you. God, gratitude transforms everything it touches. It takes what is ordinary and reveals its sacred core. It turns moments into miracles, interruptions into invitations, and difficulties into discoveries of your faithfulness, softens the sharp edges of disappointment, and teaches me that joy does not come from having more, but from recognizing what already is. Gratitude is not blind optimism, it is the courage to look at life fully, both its pain and its beauty, and still choose praise. Father, I think of the countless gifts I have taken for granted: the breath that sustains me, the strength to rise each morning, the people who love me quietly, the light that breaks the night without asking for applause. These are not small things. They are proof of your kindness written across the canvas of each day. Forgive me for the times I called myself empty while standing in the middle of abundance. Gratitude is not something I must find. It is something I must awaken. Lord, there were seasons when I waited for reasons to be thankful, believing gratitude required evidence. But you are showing me that thanksgiving precedes revelation. When I give thanks in faith, even before answers arrive, I begin to see differently. Gratitude changes not the situation, but the soul within it. It opens my spirit to receive what you have already placed in my path. When I thank you in advance, I am no longer begging for blessing. I am recognizing its presence. God, gratitude also heals what worry once broke. When I live thankful, anxiety loses its language. The same thought that once spiraled into fear now becomes an opportunity for trust. Gratitude reorders my perspective, teaching me to focus not on what I lack, but on who sustains me. It does not deny difficulty. It declares that goodness still exists within it. Even in the valley, there is beauty, the whisper of mercy, the touch of comfort, the reminder that I am not alone. Father, I want to cultivate gratitude as a daily rhythm, not an occasional response. Let it live in my speech, in my choices, in the way I notice the world. Gratitude is more than words, it is a way of walking. It is how I greet the morning with peace instead of panic, how I approach people with grace instead of expectation, how I end each day not counting what went wrong, but remembering what went right. When gratitude becomes my posture, peace becomes my atmosphere. Lord, teach me to give thanks not only for what feels good, but also for what grows me. Some blessings come wrapped in joy, others disguised as trials. Yet both carry your hand. The struggle that refines me is as much a gift as the comfort that restores me. The unanswered prayer that keeps me seeking is as valuable as the fulfilled one that makes me rejoice. Gratitude does not demand explanation. It chooses trust. It believes that all things pleasant and painful work together under your love, God. Gratitude also shifts how I see others. When I live in thanksgiving, envy has no place. I can celebrate their success without feeling small, because their blessing does not diminish mine. I can honor their journey without comparing it to my own. A grateful heart no longer competes. It connects. It sees others not as rivals, but as reflections of grace moving differently through the same divine story. Gratitude builds community where comparison builds distance. Father, sometimes gratitude requires intention. On weary days, when life feels heavy, thanksgiving must become an act of faith. I must speak it before I feel it. Remember it before I see it. But even then, gratitude still works. It becomes a light that refuses to go out, flickering through shadows until joy returns. And as I practice it, I realize that gratitude is not an escape from hardship. It is the strength to face it with hope. Lord, when the world shouts of scarcity, teach me to live from abundance. When others chase more, let me rest in enough. When the noise of complaint grows loud, let me answer with quiet praise. Gratitude is rebellion against the lie that I am lacking. It is my declaration that I am already loved, already sustained, already whole in every season. Gratitude roots me back into reality, the reality that all good things flow from you, and you never run dry. God, the morning light stretches wider, golden and gentle, as if the sky itself is giving thanks. It reminds me that creation has been practicing gratitude since the beginning, the trees reaching upward, the rivers singing through stone, the stars shining without asking for recognition. All of nature praises you by being fully itself. So will I. My gratitude will not be confined to words, but expressed in living a life that reflects wonder, a heart that gives freely, a soul that stays soft. Father, I close my eyes and breathe deeply, aware that this very breath is grace. Every inhale is gift. Every exhale is surrender. Gratitude turns existence into worship and moments into miracles. I no longer wait for something grand to give thanks. I thank you simply because you are near. And as I step into this day, I want my life to say what words cannot, that even here, even now, in the quiet unfolding of morning, I am grateful beyond measure for love, for light, for the unending presence of you. Father, as gratitude fills my heart and turns my sight toward grace, I begin to hear something deeper beneath it, a quiet rhythm, a divine melody woven through every moment. It is purpose, steady and true, calling me to live intentionally in all that I do. Gratitude opens my eyes to what I have, but purpose directs me toward why I have it. It turns blessings into instruments, opportunities into offerings, and life itself into worship. Lord, I do not want to move without meaning or breathe without awareness of why you placed me here. Let purpose be the pulse behind every heartbeat. God, I have spent much of my life searching for purpose, as if it were hidden treasure buried somewhere far away. I thought it lived in achievements, in recognition, in milestones. But you are showing me now that purpose is not a destination, it is a direction. It is not found in what I accomplish, but in how I love. Every act of kindness, every moment of truth, every choice made in faith becomes a thread in the tapestry you are weaving. My calling is not about being impressive. It is about being faithful in the small things, the quiet things, the unseen things that matter most. Lord, remind me that purpose does not begin when circumstances align. It begins when I surrender, when I stop asking, "What do I want from life?" and start asking, "What does life want from me?" You meet me there with clarity, peace, and courage. You are not asking me to chase significance. You are asking me to walk in significance that already exists. I am not waiting to be useful. I already am, because every breath I take can become prayer. Every word can carry light. Every gesture can plant hope. Father, sometimes I mistake business for purpose. I fill my days with tasks, believing motion equals meaning. But you remind me that not all movement is progress, and not all silence is waste. True purpose is not measured by activity, but by alignment. When my will aligns with yours, even the smallest action holds eternal weight. Let me not confuse noise with impact. Help me slow down enough to hear what you are truly asking of me, because purpose is never found in the rush, it is found in the listening. God, help me see that my purpose may not look like anyone else's. Comparison has been a thief, whispering that my life must mirror another's to matter. But you do not repeat creation. Every soul carries a different note, and when each plays faithfully, the world becomes a symphony. Teach me to embrace my unique role in your design, no longer striving to echo someone else's calling, but to live mine authentically. I do not need to shine brighter than others. I need only to shine where you have placed me. Lord, sometimes purpose feels uncertain, hidden behind confusion or pain. There are days when the path disappears, and I wonder if I have lost my way. Yet you remind me that even detours have direction. You use every turn, every delay, every heartbreak to refine rather than derail. The moments I call mistakes become lessons in disguise, guiding me closer to the truth of who I am and who you are shaping me to be. Purpose is not about perfection. It is about persistence in love. Father, let my purpose be anchored in compassion. Let it not be driven by ambition or fear of insignificance, but by the quiet desire to make others' lives lighter. Help me love in ways that restore faith in kindness, to listen when the world shouts, to comfort when hearts break, to serve without needing applause. When I live for something greater than myself, my life finds rhythm again, steady, meaningful, free. Purpose is not something I achieve. It is something I become when I align with love. God, remind me that purpose does not always feel dramatic. It often looks like showing up faithfully, quietly, consistently. It looks like keeping promises, tending to the people I am called to care for, doing my work with integrity even when no one sees. Purpose lives in presence, in being where I am, fully, sincerely, without distraction. When I give my best to the ordinary, you transform it into something extraordinary. Every simple act becomes sacred when it is done with intention. Lord, when I question whether my life makes a difference, whisper to me that meaning is not measured in size, but in sincerity. The widow's coin, the shepherd's song, the child's prayer, none were grand, but all were powerful because they were real. You value not scale, but heart. Teach me to live like that, pouring quietly yet completely into each moment you give. The purpose you have given me is not a role I perform. It is a relationship I nurture with you, with others, with life itself. Father, as I reflect on everything you have been teaching me, trust, forgiveness, patience, gratitude, I see that purpose is the thread that binds them all. Each virtue points toward the same truth, that life is not random, it is redeemed. Even when I do not understand, you are orchestrating every detail for good. My story may not look perfect, but it fits perfectly within yours. You are the author who wastes nothing, and the conductor who never misses a note. God, the morning feels different now, not just bright, but alive. The air carries meaning. The silence hums with direction. I realize that purpose does not begin when I start doing more. It begins when I start being more present, more open, more aware. Every sunrise is another chance to walk in purpose, to choose love over fear, to create beauty out of faith. So I step forward with renewed clarity. I no longer need to chase purpose. I will live it. One breath, one act, one prayer at a time. Everything I touch can carry meaning when touched by love. Every word can carry healing when spoken with grace. And as I walk into the unfolding day, I know this truth deep within. I was created on purpose, for purpose, and every moment lived in awareness of you becomes holy ground beneath my feet. Father, as unity settles into my soul like a calm tide after the wind, I sense you drawing me into a deeper quiet, the place where words fall away and only presence remains. It is here, beyond effort, beyond striving, beyond thought, that I begin to understand what peace truly is. I have learned to speak to you, to sing to you, to ask and to trust. But now, you invite me simply to be with you. Lord, teach me that silence is not emptiness. It is intimacy. It is not absence of sound, but the fullness of your being. God, the world around me constantly hums with noise, the noise of demand, of distraction, of endless motion. Yet in your presence, time itself seems to pause. My heart, once restless, begins to slow. I can feel the quietness wrapping around me, not as distance, but as depth. In the stillness, I no longer need to prove my faith through action. I no longer need to earn peace. I simply rest in the truth that you already dwell here, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every space between thoughts. Lord, I used to think silence was loneliness, something to be filled with words or prayer, but you are showing me that silence is where communion deepens. It is where listening becomes worship. It is where the soul hears the language of love that does not need syllables. In stillness, you do not explain. You embrace. You do not instruct. You infuse. I find myself not thinking about you, but abiding in you. And that is where transformation happens, not in effort, but in encounter. Father, I realize how uncomfortable stillness once felt to me. To stop meant to lose control. To rest meant to fall behind. But now I see that when I quiet my mind, I am not stopping progress. I am surrendering to purpose. The world may chase productivity, but you move through peace. The most powerful movements of heaven often begin in silence, the seed breaking in the soil, the dawn before light, the heartbeat before birth. You are teaching me that creation itself was born not from noise, but from presence. God, there are no requests in this silence, no lists of needs, no battles to fight, only awareness. Awareness that you are closer than air, softer than light, stronger than fear. Awareness that even when I do not feel you, you are holding me. Awareness that the distance between heaven and earth is thinner than I thought. It lives in the pause between one breath and the next. When I dwell in that awareness, I realize prayer is not something I do. It is something I am. Lord. This stillness does not remove me from the world, it reconnects me to it. When I am quiet within, I can hear creation differently. The whisper of leaves, the rhythm of waves, the hum of morning all become echoes of your voice. Every sound outside begins to harmonize with the silence inside. And I understand what peace on earth could truly mean. It is not the absence of chaos. It is the presence of calm that cannot be taken away. Father, in this silence I find truth too clear for words. You remind me that I am not defined by what I produce, but by whose presence I carry. You remind me that stillness is not escape. It is engagement with eternity. When I sit here in quiet awareness, I am not hiding from life, I am aligning with it. I am tuning my spirit to the frequency of grace, so that when I rise again, my words, my work, my walk will all flow from peace. Not pressure. God, I know now why you often speak in whispers. It is not because you are far away, but because you are close enough that shouting is unnecessary. Your voice is gentle, not because it lacks power, but because it dwells in intimacy. You do not compete with the world's clamor. You wait for the heart that chooses to listen, and when I finally do, I realize you were never silent, I was simply too loud. Lord, help me bring this stillness into the noise of my days. When the world demands quick answers, let me respond from quiet conviction. When life feels chaotic, let my soul remain anchored in this peace. When I feel unseen, remind me that you are always looking. Stillness is not withdrawal, it is preparation. From silence, love grows stronger. From rest, strength returns. From presence, purpose becomes clear. Father, I think of how even Jesus withdrew from the crowds, retreating to mountains and gardens to pray in solitude. If he, who carried the fullness of divine power, needed silence, then surely I do too. There is something sacred about stepping away from the noise to remember who I am and whose I am. In the quiet, I rediscover what matters. I find clarity where confusion once lived. I hear whispers of guidance that rush would have drowned. God, I do not need to fill this stillness with words. You already understand what my heart cannot articulate. Every sigh is heard, every tear interpreted, every silence sanctified. When I rest in you, even the unspoken becomes prayer. My silence is not empty space, it is the sound of surrender, the echo of trust, the rhythm of grace breathing through me. The morning light grows softer now, its golden hue resting across the earth like a blessing. Everything feels suspended in balance, neither striving nor waiting. Simply being. That is what your presence feels like, wholeness without demand. Fullness without effort. The same quiet that holds the world together holds me too. So I linger here, not to escape the day, but to enter it differently, calm. Centered. Awake. I do not rush to speak or act. I let stillness finish its work. For in this silence, I am not empty. I am filled. And as I rise from this moment of peace, I carry with me the sacred truth that has no need for words. You are here, and that is enough. Father, as silence rests softly over my spirit, I feel something gentle awakening, like light breaking through the horizon after a long night. It is renewal, quiet but certain, tender yet powerful. It does not come as a thunderclap or a sudden revelation. It comes as a whisper, the steady return of life where I thought all was still. This is the moment when faith becomes more than endurance, it becomes rebirth. The journey that began in desperation now blooms in quiet trust. You have been leading me all along, through valleys and shadows, through healing and surrender, through every breath that carried me closer to peace. Lord, I see now that every chapter of this prayer has been part of a larger song, a slow, unfolding hymn of transformation. You have taken fear and turned it into courage, brokenness and turned it into strength, emptiness and filled it with purpose. What once felt like wandering was simply being led through seasons of becoming. Renewal is not the start of something new. It is the recognition that life has been renewing all along. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every act of grace was proof that you never stopped creating light from darkness. God, there were days I doubted whether I could begin again, days when faith felt like dust in my hands. But you never asked me to rebuild everything, only to open my palms. Renewal begins not with effort, but with release. It begins when I stop clutching at what has passed and allow your spirit to breathe where I cannot. Like the earth after rain, my heart softens again, like the branches after winter. I feel life pushing through the surface of stillness. What I thought was the end was only rest before resurrection. Father, teach me to recognize renewal not just in grand miracles, but in the gentle mercies that greet me each morning, the kindness that catches me off guard, the laughter that returns after silence, the peace that lingers longer each day. You are not just the God of beginnings. You are the God of continuance. You take the ordinary rhythm of living and fill it with divine consistency. Even when I drift, you bring me back to the center of your grace. Even when I falter, you remind me that failure is not final, it is fertile soil for faith to grow again. Lord, I want to live from this renewed heart with gratitude that steadies, compassion that deepens, and hope that endures. Renewal does not erase scars. It redeems them. It turns pain into testimony, regret into wisdom, and waiting into worship. What was broken becomes a vessel for light to pass through. The cracks no longer symbolize weakness. They mark where your glory entered. I carry those marks not with shame, but with reverence, for they remind me that grace was not just given to me, it was grown in me. God, renewal also means reawakening wonder. Teach me to look at the world with childlike eyes again, to see miracles in small things, to notice your fingerprints on every face, every leaf, every quiet moment between heartbeats. Wonder restores reverence, and reverence restores relationship. The more I notice, the more I adore. The more I adore, the more I live awake. You never stop painting beauty into the mundane. You never stop turning ordinary hours into holy ground. Father, I realize now that renewal is not about escaping the world, but entering it more fully with open eyes, open hands, open heart. It is about living in alignment with love, seeing every encounter as sacred, every moment as an invitation. The same spirit that renews me now sends me outward to bring peace where there is conflict, to bring kindness where there is fear, to bring light where shadows linger. The renewal you give me is not mine to keep. It is mine to share. Every healed soul becomes a seed of healing for another. Lord, as I look back on this long prayer, I see how it has been less about speaking to you and more about learning to hear you in the wind, in the pauses, in the H, in the joy. You were there in every silence, shaping my soul into something steadier, simpler, softer. What began as a plea has become a partnership. Prayer is no longer a cry for help. It is a rhythm of love. I no longer chase your presence. I recognize it. I no longer reach for heaven. I realize it is already touching earth through every act of grace that flows from a willing heart. God, I know that renewal does not end here, it continues. As constant as the tide, as sure as the dawn, every ending is a doorway, every conclusion a new beginning. You are not finished with me, nor will you ever be. Life with you is an ever-unfolding journey of becoming, of learning, unlearning, forgiving, and returning. And each time I return, I am made new again. Father, I am deeply grateful for every listener who has walked this journey with me through tears and trust. Through doubt and discovery, may they feel the same renewal stirring within them now, quiet but strong, reminding them that grace has no expiration and love has no limit. Thank you for every soul who dared to stay through the silence, to listen, to open, to believe again. To those who have prayed along, thank you for walking through this sacred morning of the heart. If these words have touched you, share your reflection, your prayer, your whisper of faith below. Let your voice join this circle of light so that it may reach others still searching for dawn. And if you have found peace here, carry it forward, subscribe, share, and let this prayer continue its journey beyond us, reminding every heart that listens that faith renews, love restores, and light always returns. The air feels softer now, touched by a gentle wind that carries the scent of morning. The first rays of sunlight brush across the earth, and everything glows with quiet promise. The day has only just begun, and so has the heart, alive again, renewed again, shining like the horizon that never fails to rise.